What? What?
Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Oh, yeah. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live. We're streaming live on YouTube. We on Facebook. And, of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Look. If it ain't one thing, it's a goddamn another with this goddamn team, man. We'll get to that in a second. But coming up today, rankings, list. They seem to be the rave this week. So we're going to throw a little curveball into that. We're going to talk about the toughest quarterbacks the Cowboys will be facing this season, ranking them from 1 to 10. Top 10. Top 10. But I'm going to do a little twist with it. We're going to see where the advantage or disadvantage is, quarterback versus quarterback, okay? Before that, the tag deadline has passed. And the running back community has spoken out. It is a big deal right now, what's going on with the running backs, which, look, if you've been following this show, we've been talking about that since 2019, 20, whatever it's been. But we'll get into that in the roundup as well. Plus, what you're seeing seeing happen right now in big media is the exact reason why communities like this and others, not just Cowboys, and others are existing and they are thriving. Once again, they get it wrong with Dak Prescott. Not that a lot of casual fans or suspect fans or fans who love the drama and stuff like that, they didn't care. But they get it wrong again, and we'll talk about that as well prior to getting into our list. So what's good, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
You know, as I'm finishing the touches up on this show, I get the notification on my phone, pops right up, boom. I mean, it might still be here. Let me see. Here it is. Dallas All-Pro offensive lineman may hold out. Zach Martin believes he's woefully underpaid compared to the rest of the top paid guards. So I go over here, I go to the Twitter machine, and I look at Adam Schefter's tweet. And they say, he says at least, he's reporting that he may not come to camp due to his unhappiness with his contract and the team's lack of interest in restructuring it. I'm like, come on, Zach, don't derail my show. I got other things I want to talk about. But that did come down on the wire right before we came on here live. And, you know, it's something that we'll likely get into probably today. You guys can call in if you want to talk about it as well. Today is a chill day. You know, we're doing a rankings type of list, which y'all know I don't even like rankings list all like that, but I try to add my twist to it to make it a little bit more fun. So 351-999-3787, you can call in. But, you know, Zach Martin, I don't know if he's speaking out, but speaking out through the media, through his representatives is a big deal because this is the type of guy that doesn't do this. Now, if you remember back in 2017, maybe 14, 15, 16. So after the 16 season, maybe 17, he sat one day. He missed like one day of camp or OTAs or something like that, and they paid that man right away because Zach Martin wasn't one to mess around with. Things are a tad different in the sense of he's closer to retiring than he is, you know, at the prime of his career, but he's still one of the best guards in the league and one of the most respected players on that team. And when he speaks out, they're probably going to listen. I can guarantee you they are going to listen. So, you know, it's something that we're going to have to keep our eyes and ears open to over the next couple days. But if they are truly down with paying Zach or restructuring it, because right now he doesn't have any more guaranteed money on his contract. If they're truly down with keeping him around the next year or two, they'll make it work. But this is just now another guy added to the list of top players on this team that will be looking to get contracts. And this is why I think you got to get out in front of certain things. But we'll keep our ears to the ground on Zach Martin. And again, if you guys want to talk about it in depth, we can. But we're not going to do the whole show on that specific thing. So let's go ahead, hit this roundup. We'll come out of it, and we'll talk about this whole ridiculous Dak Prescott thing.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It is time for...
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Hey, yo. So the franchise tag came. It went on Monday, and none of the running backs got a deal. That includes Tony Pollard. But here's the difference between TP and the other guys that are fighting for deals or what have you. Tony Pollard already signed his franchise tag, so he'll be around. TP wants to be around. He's not a guy that wants to sit out and not be a part of off-season workouts, and I respect him for that. I also respect him for sticking with his running back brethren, right? Like the running back community right now, they're all in solidarity. They're all trying to change things. And this has been brewing for a long time. But the problem is, I don't think anything is going to change on the field. And if nothing is going to change on the field, then what happens off of it, unfortunately, is just business, or as my guy would say,
it is what it is. It is what it is.
And I get it. You know, these are real life people that you want the best for. But these franchises are also looking at what's happening around the league, and they're trying to make the best decision for their teams. And they're in a weird position, man. Like, it's a weird position because The position itself, running back, does hold value. I think there's some value to it. Individually, it's been proven that their peak usually comes during their rookie contract years, or by the time it's time to pay them the high performing running backs, right? They can get quality production from another rookie on a rookie contract deal, or do a running back by committee or duo approach or something of that sort. So, they're in a very sticky situation, and unless something changes CBA wise, then I don't see anything changing for the running backs in general. And everybody spoke out. Najee Harris spoke out. Derrick Henry spoke out. CMC spoke out. Jonathan Taylor. And now Saquon Barkley, he's been on podcasts talking about it as well. Look, I get it. And I saw this coming from a mile away. And the last kind of cluster of those high-end contracts like that was the Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott cluster. And Zeke kind of was the last one, right? And we've seen what has happened since then. His peak years were during what, squad? His rookie contract. And same thing could be said for Todd. Same thing could be said for Le'Veon and all these other guys, because the way the position is played in the league now and the value of the position on the field individually has gone down. I don't think the position in general is wiped out, just individuals, because it's been proven. So if I had to throw my 2 cents into it for a solution, I think they need to go to the CBA, NFLPA, and talk about doing some type of incentive-laden rookie running back contract. When these guys come in, they are coming in, I believe, at the best part of getting a running back. Now, some of these dudes like a Zeke, some of them even if you look at the guy we just drafted, Deuce Vaughn, had a ton of carries. Some of these guys come out of college with a lot of carries, so they're already starting to wear and tear, but they're not getting paid in college. Nowadays, they kind of are, but they're not getting paid in college. Then they come in, add more carries on their body, and by the time they get to sign on that second contract, they're sitting around, 25, 26 years old, and that second contract is going to be in the middle of when you see a decline around 27 for running backs. 27 is when you start to see them kind of the plateau and the decline starts. That's just facts. Does that mean they shouldn't get their bread? No. Go get your bag. But also understand what's happening around the league on the field at the position and understand it from their side of things. And understand that, again, individually speaking, it's not as valuable as it used to be in the 90s. That's just is what it is. But here's Mina Kimes, because when the queen of the NFL speaks, we listen. Listen to Mina Kimes kind of explain this running back situation, Cowboys Nation. Come on.
Complicated, Tony. As far as why it's happening, there's a few reasons. One, the NFL has become a passing league. Two, more teams are leaning on a committee approach at running back, and sort of those bell cow backs who would get 300 plus carries are few and far between these days. And three, and this is something you alluded to, teams are increasingly aware that these second contracts don't usually pan out, and also that they can get commensurate production from guys on rookie deals. Last year, of the top 12 running backs in yards per carry, 8 were on rookie contracts. Teams know this. None of it means that there is a wide-ranging conspiracy against the position. But that doesn't make it easier to stomach for me, not just because these guys are so entertaining to watch, but also because I know that when they put their bodies on their line earlier in their careers, they're rarely rewarded for it later on. And that's where I think the question of fairness does become applicable. Look, all NFL players have their wages suppressed starting in college, then coming into the league after they're drafted. It can take as many as 6 years to hit free agency. But I would argue that running backs are disproportionately hurt by this system because, unlike some of those other positions, they peak in efficiency during that period. So any solution for me has to start with getting them to the draft earlier, getting them to free agency earlier. You can't get teams to act against their own self-interest, and these changes would take a while to kick in. But I think that's where
She said at the top of this whole thing, it is complicated. I don't think there is a black and white simple answer. And I think the NFLPA, the running backs, and the NFL owners would have to come together. But I don't think the owners are in any hurry to do so. Any hurry. Because if you go look at over the last decade or so, there are not many running backs that are participating or are winning. I hate to use just two teams or one team, Super Bowls, on the backs of running backs. We understand this is a quarterback-driven passing league. That doesn't mean it's all on the quarterback, but that's just where this league is at right now. And you see it in the contracts, you see it in the importance of the NFL. So, this conversation, it'll eventually die out as it usually does every year. But I think we're starting to see the uproar of it get a bit louder when these conversations happen. So I don't think anything is going to change at this moment, but I do think there needs to be something, something, whether it be the quarterbacks get their own salary cap, whether it be incentive laden contracts for major incentive laden contracts, not just, the normal incentives, but major incentive laden contracts coming out, whether it be what Mina Kimes said in regards to possibly getting them to free agency earlier, et cetera, et cetera. But it is without a doubt, when you look around the league in regards to the cap going up and the franchise tag going up for each position, it is going down. The market is getting worse for running backs. And Booker McFarland said something the other day that is very true. The players are in the business for pushing things forward, not backward. And right now, the running backs are trying not to take these contracts that will push things backwards, but that is just the nature of the position right now. And it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. Hot topic there. Let's get to dirty journalism. You could do a show on both of these whole topics, honestly, and that'll be the first part of the show. Is these two things here? So the media, I don't understand. If you're the NFL, if you're big networks, I'm sorry, is Mina Kimes still talking back here? Okay, no, she's not. If you're the NFL network, if you're ESPN, if you're any of these big media networks, you should absolutely not be running with anything until you certify that that's what was said or that's what was done. That's not what happened with this Dak Prescott quote situation. So Dak Prescott spoke with some media members the other day, I think prior to his Atlanta trip, with the tight ends and wide receivers and with the throwing sessions. And what happened was a real life version of Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you last. They thought Dak Prescott said, I will not throw 10 interceptions this season. And the whole entire nation ran with it. The whole world. For engagement, for ratings, for clicks. And something didn't sit right with me when I saw that. I'm like, that's all he said? Usually when big media in anything tells you to look this way, you should probably go look the other way, take a peek and see what's going on there too. And that's what I did. I said, so let me go read this article. Read the article was still printed wrong because they had the quote in there. But I said, wait, this is the quote everybody is talking about? That's not the quote we should be talking about. Then we come to find out that wasn't the quote at all. People want to run with the hottest thing from a quote or an interview or what have you, and not the substance. They want the candy. They want the icing. The sweet stuff, but not the substance. This is what happens when you chase the sweet stuff. Nick Eatman came out after this whole thing happened and said, I'm seeing a lot of headlines about Dak's bold claim about 10 interceptions. Sorry, but that's not what he said. He was talking about being on the same page with his wide receivers so they won't have tipped interceptions, tipped not 10. Obviously not as cool of a story. And I believe it was Todd Archer who also came out, put the whole quote out there. And that's exactly what he said. He said, we won't have tipped interceptions, not I won't have 10 interceptions. But again, not as cool of a story. You know, I didn't get all in the uproar or whatever for this because let me tell you why. I welcome, bring that boom back. I welcome the big wigs to continue to do this, continue to chase the candy and not the substance, because you know why? That's just going to continue to push people here. And not just here in general on the Skywalker show, the morning show, but to these type of communities. That's why I think we're thriving, is because people are getting tired of that type of media. No, you're not trying to go there to get the low hanging fruit. You're not. But hey, do you, big wigs, do you, because we're going to still be here and you're just pushing these type of people to our platform, and I respect it. Now, in regards to the quote that they should have been talking about, should have been this one. When the big media tells you to look that way, maybe you should look this way. So I looked this way. And this is what Dak said within that quote. Mike does an amazing job with those guys. They know where to be, why to be, and when they're getting looked at. Now, he said they know where the hell to be, why to be, and when they're getting looked at. How many times have you heard something like that over the last 3 to 4 seasons? By the way, this is him essentially echoing what the Semi Fehokos have said, what the Jalen Toberts have said, the Brandon Cooks and these receivers that have spoken out to the media. The where, why, and when is so much more important than
I won't have 10 interceptions this year.
Bullcrap. But that's the candy. This is the substance. This is so much more important than I won't have 10 interceptions. First of all, because I've seen this on Twitter, there are fans of this team and of opposing teams that are, he has double-digit interceptions, all the time. Most quarterbacks throw double-digit interceptions if your name is not Aaron Rodgers, number one. Okay? That's just the way, that's the quarterback position. They're throwing the ball more. That's going to happen. Okay, we all understand we don't want Dak Prescott to throw a ton of interceptions this year. And I get it's a big talking point, but my goodness, you would think he did nothing else but throw 55 interceptions in the season. You would think there comes no context with any of that either. In fact, we wouldn't have to talk about the damn context all the damn time if this wasn't the only thing people wanted to talk about. But when there's substance, where, why, when, nobody wants to talk about that. The where, why, and when was the major problem last year or over the number of years. There was no rhyme or reason to where, why, or when. It was Coop, Lamb, go win. I got you. I'm going to find you. System, not players. Mike has preached players, not system. And you see it trickling down to Dak. You see it trickling down to the wide receivers. And you even hear, almost called him Marty. I'm going to keep doing that all year. You even hear Brian Schottenheimer speak on similar things. So when the big wigs, when the big networks tell you to look at the right hand, you might want to look at the left. You might want to look at the left. And that is the reason why I didn't run with that. I said, this is not the one that we need to be focusing on. That's the quote we need to be focusing on, because that is what's going to make this passing offense better. That, and obviously adding guys like a Brandon Cooks, getting a second year out of a Jalen Tober, understanding, making it easier for him and everyone, really. Year 2 off of the ACL with Michael Gallup. The players are obviously going to help as well. But at the end of the day, coaching has to help at some point or make life easier on your players. The secret sauce is what Mike McCarthy called it. So be careful with the big media, man. And which I don't got to tell y'all. I don't got to tell y'all that. For those that are here daily, y'all already know that. But just be careful of all the candy and all the fluff and all the icing that they're feeding you. It ain't good for you. It's going to get you cavities, you get diabetes, but you want the substance. The substance, I think you like a lot better, man. I think you like it a lot better. All right. Speaking of substance, man, we always get some substantial calls from our guy. Toxic time of day? I feel like I got a toxic time coming in today.
Good morning, Sky. Welcome back. I can tell you last week, I was like a fiend looking for my fix because
Tyrone?
9 o'clock's on the East Coast. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm saying like crackhead Tyrone.
Oh, yeah, Tyrone. Yeah, the
Tyrone Biggins.
No, I don't do drugs, man. I was scratching my chest, yes.
Joe Rogan, you got any more of that crack? Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'm here for the giant crack party. Okay.
My bad. I'll grow up one day.
I love the topic you brought up. And a shout out to Landlord. He's been talking about this too, about the whole running back situation. And it's really bringing up a really good lesson for not just the NFL, but people in life in general. My grandfather used to be a steel worker, and he worked in Pittsburgh, and he made bank. And one day he got fired because, wow, the norms of the business changed. And I remember my grandfather being really upset and scolding them, and when in reality it's like, well, you got to adapt. And I look at the running back situation, and I kind of empathize, but I don't like the fact that a lot of running backs are acting like that this just fell out of the sky. Like, whoa, what just happened? The ground just shook from under us. This has been a long time coming for about a decade and a half, maybe 2 decades. And when I look at the entire situation, the questions you're bringing up are legitimate questions where should running backs even come out of college even early because that NIL money is guaranteed?
Yeah.
Or do you keep taking the licks in college? Because Ohio State fed Zeke before we even got him. So you could argue we didn't even get prime Zeke because he played for free, which is absurd on itself. But it's a really interesting question that needs to be brought up of should a running back even have to go to college? If a running back like Leonard Fournette says, I'm good enough in high school in America and I can go play in the NFL, I think that they should be able to have that choice because of the nature of work that they're in. I think that's like the only legitimate change we can honestly make with that right now.
Yeah, and she brought that about coming out earlier. I don't know. That's going to be tough to do, getting these kids to come out at age 19. Some of them have at 20, you know, depending on their birthday. But that's going to be tough. But I guess solution would be to incentivize their contracts coming out, like heavily incentivize it, not just the normal. Because I think there are some incentives there, especially first round picks if they play a certain specific amount of time or whatever. And once they get to the 5th-year option, the option is extremely high. But I'm talking about real life incentives where, you know, if you're, and then also another one I saw, a good example. I'm seeing some on Twitter as well. Instead of paying running backs where they're drafted, how about paying based on when they're drafted against their position, right? So first running back off the board, whether it be in the 3rd round, he gets the higher he gets a high contract as opposed to, well, he's a 3rd round pick, number 97. We're going to pay him as 3rd round pick, number 97 or what have you. So, I mean, again, none of these are black and white and simple solutions, but something probably has to happen if the running back community wants something to change. If nothing changes from a CBA standpoint, nothing's going to change on the field. Nothing's going to change business wise because it is honestly better business to do it the way that it's being done right now. And that's just facts. It might be hard to hear if you're a running back, but that's facts.
And there's a lot of other context in this situation that kind of led to this too, because, and I've been really thinking about this for a while, but how did we get to this point? Think about how the Jamarcus Russell contract, because he was so bad, really paved the way for rookie contracts having a cap on top of it. Wow. And then you look at like how college backs, like when Maurice Claret was bringing this up way back in the day with Ohio State.
He tried to come out,
and he went to the Supreme Court. I believe, to get this fixed. But how we got to this point, and now we're at the breaking point, and now I hate to say it like this, but the NFL players are banking on their Players Association to now have some teeth and some backbone, and man, that is not a good feeling to be having. And the only thing that really could be the saving grace is what Le'Veon Bell even brought up was, I'm not just a running back. I'm catching like 70 passes in the backfield too. You got to take that into account as well. So the whole thing is going to be really interesting to see how the NFL and the NFLPA react and respond to this, quote, new NFL, and how either the running back's going to end up like the new fullback, where it just kind of phases out and turns into something completely different, or there's going to be some, quote, legislation change on how the NFL does business.
I think the latter. I think legislation change is it. I don't think the running back, because, again, I think the position, right? Running back itself, the position, there is value there. But that's the reason why you carry 3, 4, 5 at a time, right? And when you include practice squad. Whereas fullback, there is no more value. That's why there's only maybe 5 in the entire league. It's just individually now. Teams are realizing I don't need to allocate that much individually to one running back because I can get production to help me win under a rookie contract or from a veteran on a 1-year type of deal, 2-year type of deal for cheap, and still go out there and produce as a top 10 rushing team or a rushing team in the playoffs that can get it done given my scheme, my offensive line, coaching, or what have you. So they're in a tough situation, man.
Yes, they are. And the last point I'll make is, and how to wrap this all up for you and everyone else, to everyone listening and in the chat, pay attention to your career field and look at the norms around your business and see how you can stay ahead of the trend. Sky, you're an excellent example, and you just gave how big media just keeps falling on their own sword. You are different. You are zagging when they are zigging. And pay attention to what is coming down the pipe, because as an accountant, I can tell you that I had to learn to code years ago because I was being told, hey, when in like next 20 years, automation is going to take some of your job. And that's why I learned those things ahead of time. So that way, when it's time to get rid of the lower accountants per se, I'm not the one on the chopping block. So everyone, please pay attention to your careers, get what you're worth, and never settle for anything less. Have a great day, y'all.
Salute, Tox. Appreciate you speaking as always. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get what they're worth. But they're up against it right now. You know, they're up against it. I saw a super chat from, it was a Hotspot, what Hotspot, is that your name? Where'd you go? Hotspot Casino. He says that the toughest threat facing the Cowboys is Dak laugh emojis. All right, children. I don't want to have to give you the coloring book here. Okay? That is not the toughest thing facing the Dallas Cowboys, and you know that. But like Toxic Tom just said, there are people that will follow the big media, and we get with some of these fans. Some of them are wolf in sheep's clothing, and they tend to follow that situation. But you know, everyone's welcome here, and if you believe that, hey, you're more than welcome to believe that, man. Laying low from Alabama, what's good, man?
Man, with the Sky, you all right, man?
Doing well, brother. Doing well.
Yes, sir, man. I was just, I had me a sermon about the running back position on my show the other day, and they really in a very what can I say, like a counterproductive situation, because everybody talk about the wear and tear and the shelf life of a running back, but at the same time, that's the whole reason that they deserve their money. It's so crazy because of their usage. You see what I'm saying? It's like, if they wasn't being used so much or taking so much of a gauntlet of physicality every week, they probably have a better shelf life. So it's like, it's kind of a lose-lose situation for them.
Yep. I mean, and again, unless something changes on the field, which I don't see how. I mean, the running back position is a running back position. I don't know how this changes, landlord. Again, this ain't even new either. It's just that social media, right?
Nah.
These running backs have now come together. They're seeing what's happening. And I think it took somebody like Saquon. And no offense to Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is a first-round pick as well. Led the league last year, another one. But when you see a talent like Saquon, he got hurt a lot too, but he's an extreme talent. When he doesn't get paid and a quarterback like Daniel Jones gets paid, when Saquon is 40, 50% of your offense, I think that's what made these running backs have to come out and speak out publicly. But this has been brewing for a long, long time, man.
Somebody like Josh Jacobs too, though. The only reason he's not big as Saquon is, but at the same time, this is his first contract, right? Like he can't even get his first contract. That's wild when you think about it. And
all three
we
of
know
these
he's
dudes,
been one of the
TP, Josh Jacobs, and Saquon Barkley they all have one contract. They're trying to get their second one, and the league is like, hey, franchise tag.
You know, they used to complain about the running back after the first contract. They don't even want to give him the first contract. It's wild these days.
You mean the second contract?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, this will be their second contract. The first contract's their rookie contract. This would be the second contract.
Yeah, the rookie.
Yeah. Yeah, but
that's pretty much mandatory, though. It's mandatory for the rookie contract. Like,
well, they switched
you want them on your team.
But they adjusted that. If you like Tom was talking about, there wasn't a rookie scale. If you guys remember that, there was at one point, and I think he said Jamarcus Russell, but I remember it was Sam Bradford. You know, when Sam Bradford came out, I think he was making $50 million guaranteed or something crazy at that time. He became immediately a top 5 paid quarterback in the league. And I think the league starts saying, okay, this is getting out of hand. You know, we're paying, rookies who have done nothing and may not do anything more money than some better veterans. So that's when they included the scale. So maybe they need to go back to the well with that. But then that'll have trickle down effects. So it's a real sticky situation for this running back group.
Yeah, and I seriously don't see nobody else teaming up with them either. So it's, helping them with the movement, because like they said, people gotta worry about their own pockets at the same time. So
yep,
I don't really know what the solution is. I got some ideas, like we said, front load their contract when they first come in. I kind of like the idea you were saying, let them boys have a decision to come out early if they want to. Don't make a running back wait 3 years. Let him play a year in college or something.
Well,
I think that's decent.
Maurice Clarett tried to do that, and that kind of derailed his life in a sense. But it's weird though, right? Because look, if you go to college at 17, 18 years old, you think a 19-year-old is ready for the league? I don't know about that, bro. You know?
Yeah. That's why I said once you let them be in college at least 1 year or so. You know what I'm saying?
Or hit free agency earlier. That was the other one that I liked from Mina Kimes. She said, "What about hitting free agency earlier?" But then look, here's what's going to happen, landlord. If you show special attention to that group, guess what's coming? Hey,
other groups
I'm a linebacker. I want to get to free agency earlier. I'm a center. I want to get to free agency earlier. I want to front load a contract, and it's just going to repeat itself. So there's no easy solution here. But I just say
you basically damned if you do, damned if you don't, though. Because like we just said, I don't like the fact that they acting like it's no hierarchy amongst running backs. Like it's just you just a generic running back, and it's nobody better than each other or nothing like that. Like you could just swap a running back and everything gonna be fine. It is still a hierarchy. That's my problem with it. And then the 3 running backs we talking about, these running backs pretty much carry their whole franchise. If you ask me, Derrick Henry carried his whole franchise. Josh Jacobs was one of the, yeah. Now he's still speaking up about it though, because he might not be able to get paid now. Yeah, but like Zeke was carrying us in the first couple of years.
And he got paid.
There's a lot of stuff that he got paid because he forced their hand though. If he wouldn't have forced their hand, he wouldn't have got paid.
But he got paid.
I'm almost certain of that.
That's the reason that they're coming back to guys like Zeke, Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Rodgers, not Jaquiz Rodgers, the other dude from Atlanta. I forget his name. And the list goes on and on.
Jonathan Taylor's carry his team too.
Who's that? Oh yeah, he's under his rookie
Taylor.
deal. He's under his rookie deal still, and that's what's going to hurt this group, is that it's a position that. Let's just be real. It's the easiest position on offense to essentially fill or production-wise with a rookie contract. So from a fan's perspective, if you put the fan hat on and you're saying, man, let these dudes get paid, absolutely. Get your bread because y'all earned that, right? But if you are an organization, you say, well, if I can allocate that money to a more valuable position and still get that type of production from a rookie or another player or a committee of players, why not do that? That's the issue they have.
It's terrible, man, because like we just said, I'm going to let you go because I know you got other callers, but I'm just saying, like, we know financially it's not as good for the owners. But, like, these aren't, like, cars and stuff, bro. These humans. These boys sacrifice their body just like everybody else. Like, at a higher rate. So they still deserve their money, though, bro. It's a crazy situation, though.
Yeah,
I just hope they find some kind of way to compensate these guys.
Yeah, it's hard to separate the deserve part of it and the business part of it, because they deserve their money. No doubt about it. But then there's the business aspect of it. And how do you mesh those two? How do you come to a compromise? That's what they have to do. They have to figure out a compromise.
A middle ground. Yeah. But appreciate you taking my call, Scott, man. It was good talking to you.
Of course. Hey, look.
All right.
Part of me thought that this would carry the show a little bit here. I got an entire whole back half block B to get to, but this is definitely a hot topic, and if y'all want, we can keep rolling with it. If need be, I'll switch this whole thing up and we'll just roll with the second part of the show Friday, because we got a lot of callers that obviously have a lot to say about this. So I'm gonna keep getting to them. A lot of heavy hitters here, like B Bird. What's good, B Bird?
Hey, what's up, Scott? How you been doing this summer, brother?
I've been doing fantastic. It's good to hear from you. I know in the summer you're probably running around with the football camps and softball camps, so it's always good when you call in, man.
Yeah, Scott. I wanted to just comment on that on this running back thing. I saw this thing coming a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I physically don't think anything's different than the running backs aren't built much different than when Emmitt Smith and Thurman Thomas and all those guys were carrying the ball. I think it was a concerted effort a long time ago to do this. And what they do, I always give this math. If I have a running back that carried the ball, 25 to 30 plus times a game, he gets me 1,500 yards and about 16 touchdowns. Now when he comes to the table, he has pretty good stats. Now I have to deal with that.
Right.
But if I can if I can get 600 yards, 900 yards, and 600 yards, and 300 yards, that's the same 1,500. But when that 600-yard running back comes to the table, how can he negotiate with me, right? He's really only got 600 yards. So what they did that the owners did, it's collusion, to be totally honest with you. They did this a while ago on running backs, and to me, I saw it a long time ago. But this is the thing, is they can really do that to any position. Think about this. You could do it to wide receivers. You can just use 6 wide receivers and let every wide receiver catch 60 balls and for 500 yards, and you come to the table saying, I want a new contract. You're like, dude, you don't do no better than this other guy over here. So what they did was just break it down to not just one back getting all the yards and all the carries and all the leverage. They broke it down a long time ago, and then they start talking about wear and tear, which is the owners and the teams are the ones putting the wear and tear on the players. And so it's just an interesting thing to me. And I think what ends up happening is the union is at fault, to be totally honest with you, letting this happen. And another thing, too, man, the rookie wage thing, remember when Bradford was getting all that money?
Yep.
Here's the deal, man. This is old street stuff. Don't worry about other people's money. Because let me tell you why I say that. Because that money never did trickle to who they thought it was going to go to. But the veterans ought to get that money. They never got it. It's just that the rookies didn't get it no more, and you felt better that you were making more than that rookie. But it didn't help you anything, veteran. They didn't really do anything extra for you. And they was like, okay, yeah, we won't pay those guys $50 million guaranteed. We don't want to anyway.
Well,
but they never got anything out of it.
I mean, salaries have went up. So I mean, it did something, right? These guys are getting paid more than they ever got paid just 10 years ago. So the money did get spread out across. And if you go look at where each market value of every position over the last decade is went up percentage wise, where the running back position is went down. That's the only position that's really went down. And I think the explanation is because of their responsibilities on the field have essentially went from, like you said, 25, 30, 35 carry individual guys to multiple dudes can do the job. And them understanding that, hey, these rookies coming out can do the job. It doesn't hurt that, obviously. Now there's a salary cap where there wasn't a salary cap, for a good portion of the NFL history. People don't realize we're still kind of fairly in a not a new stage of salary cap, but it's getting different each year because obviously it's going up and the teams are figuring out ways to mess with it. But the salary cap came mid-90s and it really didn't get figured out to the 2000s. So it's, teams are now understanding now that it's a passing league. That's another thing too. Now that's a passing league. Who is going to take the hit of it being a passing quarterback-driven league? The running back.
Well, let me ask you a question, Scott. Two things. One of them is that last year, here's the funny part. The NFL ran the ball more. You remember that we saw? Last year, the NFL as a total ran the ball more.
Had one of its best
I think in the last
rushing performances in a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and so rushing performance is running back. So what they're doing is they're telling us verbally, and everybody's taking the cheese like, oh, it's a passing league. Yeah, but you're running the ball. You know what I'm saying? You're running the ball more, but you're telling us it's a passing league.
Right.
So the running back position is still getting his carries, but you're just not paying those guys. Running back position is still a premier position.
So earlier in the show, I'm not sure if you missed it. The running back position is valuable. There is value to the running back position.
Yeah.
Individually is where the problem comes in, B-Bird. Like, they're not like I think it was Toxic Tom said, I don't know, man, maybe it might phase out like fullback. It'll never happen because teams will carry 4 to 5 running backs because they value the position. They don't value the individual anymore. That's the conversation that needs to be had. The position's there. That's why you see 4 or 5 dudes on the team. That's why you see.
That's right.
Go look at what the Eagles have done right now. Hey, Miles Sanders, appreciate you what you did on your rookie deal, but that $7 million you're getting paid over there in Detroit, we're putting it to 5 different people over here because of the way we use our running backs. So the position itself needs to be respected and valued, but individually, that's where the business comes in.
So if I had a kid, man, I
would play running back.
Kid. I would not. I would say no. You can play any position but running back.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you can gain weight and be a guard. I mean, anything but a running back. I mean, because and that's why it has to start. And then what you start doing is thinning out the talent at that position, and then maybe that could be something too. But I think overall, and I'm gonna let you go on this. Overall, man, it's to be honest with you, the NFL is the most profitable sports I know in America. But the thing about it is their union is the weakest.
Yes.
Yeah, they fall for everything and go for everything. And if they ever stood on their 10 toes, they probably can get some things done. But it's so much rift between the members whenever they try to get together on things and try to get something to happen that it never will. And what it is the owners are solid in their stance, and they're going to beat them every time, man. And I'm going to let you go, man. I just want to chime in on that, brother. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. I'm not really sure what's going on audio-wise, if everybody's coming in super low. I know B-Bird came in really low, but I turned up Toxic and it should work. But let's see if we can get this situation fixed here from an audio standpoint. Jake the Great, what's good, man?
I'm all right. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me good?
Sound loud and clear to me. It's I can hear y'all fine, but the people out there are having a tough time. So you just go. I'll deal with the audio. What's up?
All right. Well, first everybody kind of stole my thunder. Dr. Tom brought out the Maurice Clarett thing that I was going to lean on to. It's very unfortunate what's happening to the running backs because, like the caller just said before, they keep saying it's a passing league. I didn't know the numbers, but I did notice last year that the teams are running the ball quite often. And I understand the numbers that you can't just go ahead and give a bell cow $100 million and then them just walk out in like 2 years and they're hurt and all. But it's just like they have to make something where either they get incentive-based NIL deals like in college where you can't take a dude like B. John Robinson and run him into the ground 3 years in Texas, and now he's a rookie, and the way it's looking like he might not get his money. I'm all for these guys building generational wealth because half these dudes are coming from the hood. They ain't got no money, and the running back's like the first position that people develop into. You look at Pop Warner, there's no real quarterbacks throwing bombs. Everybody's running that wing T triple option, so it's like, it's very unfortunate, man. I really don't see what the NFL is going to do about this running back position unless they all go on strike or something.
Unless running backs start to, play longer into their careers like a tackle or guard or, quarterback or what have you at high levels, unless, injuries go significantly down at the position, which is hard to do because they're touching the ball, more than any position on the field from a physical standpoint, right? Like if you get 15 to 17 touches in a game, you're likely getting hit on 12 to 13 of them, count a couple passes that go out of bounds or whatever, right? And then you're dealing with blocking people as well. So another thing that's not being talked about is the injury, the wear and tear on this position. And that just takes into account when you're talking about the business side of things. And that's what makes this a tough situation. There is a business aspect, a business side to this thing where there's tangible evidence that I don't need to pay a running back $15-20 million a year to get that type of production from that group. There's tangible. There just is. And that sucks for that position. So how do we come in the middle? I don't know. I don't got the answer, Sway.
Man, landlord has said it. It's kind of like devaluing, because when you devalue the running back, you basically like devaluing the NFL, because the NFL is the last physical sport that we have, and the running back, there is no physicality in the NFL no more besides the running back and the defensive line. I feel like the owners that are already billionaires, are devaluing their own product. And I don't want to ramble around too much. I just want to leave with the one thing. It's just crazy that a person like Devontae Adams would make more money in one season than like a person like Jamal Williams that banged his head against the goal line and scored like 14 touchdowns. It's just insane. But I can't ramble on and on. I know you got a lot of callers. Great show, and I'll holler at you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jay. I mean, Devontae Adams is way better than Jamal Williams, though. I think I get where you're trying to go there, but wrong player. Devontae Adams is training to be a Hall of Famer. Jamal Williams had a good season. I think we gotta kind of switch that around there. And if y'all can see these lines, man, it's pretty much what we're gonna be talking about today, I guess. Let's hear from Danny. What's up, Danny?
Good morning, Sky. Good morning. I'm going to start it off with a wrestling quote. Adapt or perish. Evolution. Let's not say it's become a passing league. Let's say it's become a running back by committee league.
There you go.
Do you think the Rams would do the Todd Gurley contract over again?
They said immediately, really like a year after it, that they were one of their biggest regrets.
Do you think the Jets would do the Le'Veon Bell contract all over again?
No.
Do you think Dallas would do the Zeke contract all over again?
No.
No. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. As for as Toxic, I think me and Toxic shared the same brain this morning, as wanting these kids to come out early, it's not going to happen. You got college kids on $9 million NIL deals. You think they're going to take that free money and walk away from it and then be a possible 6th-round pick?
That's true. You add the NIL on top of just the physicality of an 18, 19-year-old. You're not done building your body to come in here and play against dudes that got kids and families and mortgages and, and cribs all over the country. They're trying to rip your head off. So, but between you being physically and mentally ready on top of, hey, I'm already getting paid $5, $6, $7 million of playing college, they're not coming out. That's not happening.
So, you can say, or like trying to change the CBA, it's like, oh, well, let them hit free agency early. Yeah, you know what's going to happen then? You won't see a running back drafted before the 4th round. So it's like, you can say tight ends are underpaid. You can say safeties are underpaid.
Yeah, the trickle-down
effect. You can say long snappers are underpaid. You can say kickers are underpaid. And it blows my mind that, we get soldiers that go out to fight wars. They get their limbs blown off. They're never on food stamps the rest of our lives. And there's people actually crying that these guys that get franchised are going to make $10 million over 17 games. Sky, I'm sorry, but you give me $10 million for 1 year, and I'm not even that bright. That's generational wealth. Don't go out and buy 7 cars. Don't walk around with $2 million around your neck. Don't go to a million strip clubs.
Well, I mean,
invest in real estate.
I think that's a totally different conversation than we're having here, right? If we're talking about athletes and overpaid and all of them probably get more money than people are comfortable with when it comes to a sport, which is why I hate to talk about money when it comes to the athletes. It's a children's type of game is what they say, right? I think that's a totally separate conversation and saying, hey, I should be getting paid what I'm worth compared to my peers in the same business that I'm in. Those are two different conversations there, Danny.
No, I understand where you're coming from, and I respect that. But I just think, like, look at the two teams that win the Super Bowl. KC and San Fran.
You ain't got to you preach to the choir. I know. Over the last decade, man, you can't committee. Point to it's committee. And I think that's a good thing you said earlier. Instead of calling it a passing league, it is a running back by committee league. That is facts. That is 100% facts. You are no longer seeing running backs averaging 22, 25 carries per game, touches per game. That's not happening. So if I'm only going to give a running back 15 to 17 touches a game, then their value is just going to go down. And those touches are being spread out over a bunch of different players. And it's a position individually. It's a position individually that there's not that many guys that are going to impact it at such a high level to where you're like, hey, man, we got to pay this dude, et cetera, et cetera. There's a handful, and those handful probably should get paid. But the position in of itself, you know, the Derrick Henrys, the Saquon Barkleys, those guys, Derrick did get paid. CMC got paid. Zeke got paid. And a lot of these contracts, they're not seeing the results that they wanted to. They pay for what they did and not what they're going to do. So that's another conversation you can have too. But the position in general, I do think there's value. But individually, how many of those guys are worth it? Probably only a handful.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm going to land the planes. I know you got a lot of callers.
Yeah.
2024 draft, loaded at running backs. Going to give you two monsters from Ohio State.
All right, day three, Danny.
Go. Trayvon Henderson,
okay,
running back, Ohio State. He'll be a first rounder. His backup, Mayan Williams from Ohio State. He'll be a third or fourth rounder.
Okay.
Great show as always, and I'm out. Thank you.
No day three, Danny. Okay. Chris said people don't understand the business side of corporation. Yes, they deserve more money, but so does a whole bunch of other regular jobs. But if it's easily replaceable, they will choose cheaper. That is the understanding we got to come to is that the business side of this, it just makes so much business sense. And I hate to say business because it trickles down to your team. It just makes football sense. It makes football sense to say, if I can get production from this rookie and then use that to go get Von Miller or go get, and I'm just throwing out that name, one of these high-end free agents. Now, the Cowboys don't necessarily operate in that. They don't go and do that, but other teams have done that. Why wouldn't you? When you know that position can be carried with a multitude of dudes as opposed to one. I like it, though. It's not, don't say passing league, even though it is a passing league. Don't say passing league, running back by committee league, if you want to turn it a different way. And the reason why what happened last year happened is because teams like the Cowboys and teams like Kansas City, they were airing it out to the point where it was like, okay, if you're going to air it out in that manner, well, we're just going to put an umbrella over. We're just going to play umbrella coverage. We're going to back it up, which means lighter boxes, which means run the ball against lighter boxes, which means if you're lighter boxes, higher yards per carry, more success in that manner. If it's lighter boxes, if it's higher yards per carry across the league, not just from top tier backs, why individually would I put that much weight into one specific back when you're giving me the advantage that a Tony Pollard drafted in the 4th round can come in here and perform? That a Malik Davis can come in. I'm using Cowboy terms, but Malik Davis can perform. The Bears, Herbert, the Eagles, all of they random rookie small running backs. Chiefs. Joe Mixon was on a rookie deal as well. The reality is they usually peak. They're at their peak, I should say, physically in their rookie contract, in the wear and tear. And that's what Dallas was doing. Hey, we're going to run DeMarco Murray into the ground. Zeke, we're going to run you into the ground. And they paid Zeke. They didn't pay DeMarco Murray. They regretted paying Zeke. Zeke deserved his money. He deserved that money, but he never was the same back he was prior to that. Towboat drop one, and I'll get the super chats, I promise.
Super chat.
Appreciate it, Towboat. Drop a dub. Said the running quarterback, man, that could be something too, is also eating into the running back pay. There are teams where their quarterback is their leading rusher. Do you think there will be more value in the future for running quarterbacks over running backs? Already is. Being mobile is almost a absolute must now from a quarterback scouting standpoint, because defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers are way too fast now. So you have to have some mobility. Here's my pushback on that, Towboat Ty. The running quarterback shouldn't be a thing. I'm not saying take away what they do early on in their career, because they need to lean on some things that make them comfortable. But what happens is once that running quarterback suffers the same wear and tear as these running backs, what they're relied on, what a quarterback's supposed to do, throw the ball, what happens? My shoulder is banged up a little bit. I'm getting injured left and right. And if you're injured left and right and you can't perform from a throwing standpoint, now you're really worthless to this team. So, and this is something I'm going to have to watch with Jalen Hurts. We saw it literally happen last year. Jalen Hurts runs against the Chicago Bears, gets hurt, misses some games, gets the bag now. They're going to run Jalen Hurts 250 times or whatever. I don't know how many times he ran, but are they going to run Jalen Hurts that much? You shouldn't. I wouldn't. If I'm investing that much money into my quarterback, I need my quarterback to be a quarterback. There's a difference between nerfing his mobility, what they did with that, and a running quarterback responsibility every game. Jalen Hurts ran the ball like 12 times a game or something like that. Could be over. I don't know. Not doing that with my quarterback that is now my franchise quarterback, or if I draft him, be my franchise quarterback. Justin Fields, keep a lookout on him. If he can't develop into a passer, a better passer, Justin Fields is just going to get banged up, dinged up, because he's a little dude running around getting hit all the damn time. Lamar Jackson, perfect example. Lamar can throw the rock. Now, you could blame the offensive coordinator if you want, but they ran Lamar into the ground. Now he's a banged up, hurt guy that has to prove again to the league that, hey, man, I can throw this ball. We'll see. So I would not invest in a running quarterback. I would invest in a mobile quarterback. Good morning, Marcus. How you doing, man?
Hey, Scott. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Real quick.
Can y'all hear?
Yeah, man. This is interesting. Real quick. First, man, I do not believe at all that any of this stuff with the running backs is a NFL conspiracy. Why we big on that conspiracy thing? It's nothing to do with that. It's just the way. If anybody is responsible for it, has been coaching and offensive coordinators in particular. I believe this actually started longer than 10 years ago. People forget this is a outside zone run league. If you want to talk about what kind of a running league, I like the running back by committee statement you and Danny made, because that's what it is. Yeah. But that really began, I think it began as far back as the 2000s.
Yep, I agree.
With Mike Shanahan. Because Mike Shanahan for like 7-8 years up there in Denver had running backs by committee, and everybody he put in the backfield because of his running scheme was getting 1,000 yards. So we saw precursors to this as far back as then.
Well, let me stretch that a little bit there for you, Marcus. That was actually different than running back by committee. That was, my scheme is just so damn good, a la his son, Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan can throw any running back there because of his scheme, right? So when you have a scheme that can succeed with any running back, that furthermore says I don't need to pay a running back. When you add a scheme on top of multiple dudes being able to perform, I mean, you're just looking at a situation where it's like I'm not even thinking about a second contract with a running back, because not only is my scheme good, but I got multiple dudes that I can draft in the 3rd round, 2nd round, 4th round that can perform.
Right, exactly. So again, this has been just the nature of the beast. It's evolved. You want to blame somebody for it? Blame these innovative offensive coordinators who have found a way. It sounds funny, but hey, we trust me, Luke, man. It's about this is a league of competition, and people are trying to find ways to win.
Yeah,
and we say all the time it's a team game. Not one guy can do it. We kind of all got conditioned through how it's packaged and marketed to us and how sold to us. We all got our heroes. We all got I looked up the running backs when I was coming up watching them because that's what Earl Campbell was my favorite. I loved Earl Campbell. But the coordinators are trying to win. People trying to win, and they're going to do what works. It's a copycat league in a lot of ways. Again, everybody's running some version of what Mike Shanahan started, as far as running game schemes, things of that nature. Everybody's doing some version of that, some variation of that. So I got sympathy for the running backs, but what I think could happen for them is, and maybe Bill kind of made a precursor to that, is they have to see if they are as valuable as a weapon. Just because he's a running back and people. You can deploy a running game a lot of different ways. There's a lot of ways to run, like you guys are pointing out. Quarterbacks can run. You can have running backs by committee that do the traditional, we're going to turn around and hand it off to you. You can throw it short to guys that can run with it after catch that aren't necessarily running backs, but they're manufacturing the same kind of outcome that you would if you handed it off or you tossed it. There's a lot of ways to run the football. You're talking about
like long handoffs in the West Coast offense, where you just throw the ball out.
Yeah. Again, So the schemes and the philosophies are what's dominating the league now, not the individual player per se. As to your point, it's not the running back position. It's how it's being used. So I think that's what we need to focus on. And if you're gonna be a running back, man, you got to be more than that. If you're talking about getting some money from somebody, that's why I'm kind of.
That don't matter no more.
It might not matter no more.
It don't.
It might not. I mean, hey, look, we talked about CNC. We talked about Christian McCaffrey. Hey, he's a guy that can catch it. He's as much a slot receiver as he is a running back. Now, so some of that might contribute. Now, that doesn't guarantee a lot of guys are gonna get some money. But if running backs are looking to,
let me throw something at you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here's what I would do. If I was a guy like Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, whatever.
And I'm thinking Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard, but go ahead.
Alvin Kamara. These are the guys that I put CP in that range because I think they legitimately could be receivers. Thus,
right.
If I was them, I would do what a lot of basketball players do when they get older, right? Hey, I used to be a high-flying dunker. Now I'm a 3-and-D guy. I would do what you see some of the great cornerbacks do, or some of the good ones that can transition to safety. I would 100% say, okay, look, all right, we in year 5, 6, 7. Y'all don't value me as a running back no more. Put me in the slot and let me work. Put me in the slot. Right. Hey, let me work. Go draft your new running back. I'll be your slot receiver. Now pay me like a slot receiver because Christian Kirk just got $18 million. So go put me in the slot. Right. And now I'll transition into being a slot guy. In the meantime, you can prepare me for it. You can give me slot duties on the way up. You can give me slot duties in my 3rd, 4th year. You can see what I can do out there. But the TPs, the Christian McCaffreys, the Austin Ecklers, I think these guys can legitimately be slot type of receivers because they got the quickness, the hands, and the IQ to play there. So I would just say, all right, cool. You don't want to play me. A dual threat guy, move me to the slot wide receiver.
Right, exactly. Hey, leverage what you can do out there. If the more versatile you are, the better you got a chance of getting paid for your quote unquote work. So that's my time, Scott. Thank you, man, for taking it. And they didn't pay here in this situation here. They're gonna give that money to be Oddish and Steele and Zach Martin. They weren't gonna pay to Tony Pollard. Yeah, so I agree. That's my whole feeling on that. So, but thanks a lot, man, for taking my call. Have a good one, Joe.
Yep, salute. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, again, we didn't even bring up the offensive lines that much, but that's where I would dedicate that chunk of money to, is the offensive line. Because if you have a good offensive line, that helps any running back. Any running back. Let me tell you when I did this research back in 2015. So things have, I don't want to say changed, but there's a lot more evidence now between 2015 and now. When the Cowboys elected, and I don't even say the Cowboys elected because they were trying to sign DeMarco Murray, just not for the money he got in Philly. When he elected to go to Philly, I used to write on Blogging the Boys, not front page, right, but the post, right? This is when I was kind of in my journalism, wanted to be a writer. And I did a ton of research from 2000 up to that point on committees. I'm going to try to find this article too. It was about running back by committees. And I said, are the Cowboys catching up to the rest of the league? And what I meant by that was, if you looked at the 2007, 2011 Giants, if you look at the Steelers when they had Fast Willie Parker and Jerome Bettis together. When you look at all of the Patriots runs, except really like one, where they had Corey Dillon, he kind of was an outlier. Marshawn Lynch was a bit of an outlier. Even the 2011 Ravens, where they had Ray Rice and I want to say McLean or something. I can't remember who the other one was. But most of the Super Bowl champions over that 15-year period were committee/duo approaches. They weren't, hey, we're giving the ball to just one guy all the time anymore. And what ended up happening was you saw a lot of these teams had either good schemes, good offensive lines, and they ran with that approach, but they never spent hella money on that position. They kind of just said, okay, you're done. We're bringing the next guy and we'll continue with that approach. And that was back in 2015 when I was looking at this. And the Cowboys essentially got it right. Look, DeMarco Murray, he went on and still had a pretty good career, but Darren McFadden came in and rushed for over 1,000 yards in like 10 games. Draw, Stilling, Cologne, wheeling and dealing. Joseph Randle was having a productive year until he was tripping. Offensive line was good. Quarterback sucked. Right? But offensive line was good. The scheme was good. Callahan was still around. They figured, I thought they got it right. And they said, oh, nope. We sucked last year. We got to take Ezekiel Elliott. Now, that's a whole different conversation. Zeke was fantastic in his tenure early in his career here. I'm never going to be pissed off at that selection. A lot of people still are. But, I mean, he gave us top-tier play. So they took Zeke. And to help out Tony Romo at the time. And then the rest is history in regards to the payment. But, man, it's crazy how, this isn't new. It's just social media. And these guys are sticking together, and I ain't mad at them. Let's see here. We got a couple other callers I'm not familiar with there. 253. What's good, 253?
Hey, this old man Sky?
Yeah, this old man Sky. What's goody?
Hey, this is Brother L.
This Brother L? The Brother L. You ain't trolling me, are you?
Yes, sir. Not at all. Not even close.
What's good, Brother L? It's good to hear your voice. I don't think you've ever called into this show, man.
No, I called one time it was a while ago because I had it written down like on notes on something like, hey, let me get this in and then get out your way.
Let's see. If I'd known it was you, I'd have brought you in here. What's good, bro?
Hey, ain't too much. I don't know if this is going to be quick, but let me try. Because, again, I wrote stuff down. So the first thing on this whole running back situation, I said it a little bit in the chat. They got us, man. Like, the proverbial they. I'm not trying to wax two conspiracy theorists, but it feels like what they're doing, your owners, your commissioners, whoever else, all the powers that be, their goal from a long time ago all the way to now is infighting, right? Get fans, get players to blame the players for what it is that the organizations aren't doing. Because if we're looking at the books, like I'm not really going to get too much into the money. I leave that for toxic Tom to do. But when it comes to like how disproportionate the money flows down from different players, clearly there was a trend where this was eventually going to happen. And so this to me is just like one of those, if it can happen to us, it can happen to you. And I think other players, wide receivers, whomever else, they would be smart to get on board with supporting or at least speaking out about the importance of the position. Obviously, like you said, individually, not as big of a deal. They're not really as focused on one player at a time. But that's my initial thought. What is your thought on basically what I'm saying in terms of the us versus them? And while we're over here saying like, hey, this running back doesn't deserve all that, whereas that one does. How do you view that?
It's, what's crazy, L, is that the guys that we're talking about, the ones that are tagged, I'd argue they do. Because these are multifaceted guys that have proven to be integral parts to their team. Now, if you're talking about, if you're talking about the David Montgomerys, the Jamal Williams, we looked at the running back market a couple months ago, right? Those type of guys, they understood, look, I'm not going to say they don't deserve. They all feel like they're the best in the world, but they understood I'm not him. I'm not like that. So I'm going to take this contract. No one's complaining about them because they understand where they fit in this hierarchy. But TP, I think, is one of the best dual threat backs in the league. Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. These guys have a special type of talent, in my opinion, or have been productive to the point where, they deserve to go to the table and say, hey, look, Derrick Henry's getting this, CMC's getting this, Eckler's getting this. I feel like I'm in that company. Now, you might not be Derrick Henry company, but I feel like I can be in that company. I just happened to be behind a guy, or I happened to be hurt. But when I wasn't Saquon Barkley, I carried this offense. So pay me that way. When I wasn't hurt, Tony Pollard, I was the best running back for the last 2.5 seasons on this team. Pay me that way. However, TP ain't complaining. I don't know if you noticed that. Everybody else out here tweeting. TP supporting, but TP not complaining. TP reporting to camp. TP signed the deal. He ain't out here complaining. So maybe he also understands, hey, I might not be Derrick Henry, but I'm a dual threat guy. It'd be nice to get paid, but I'm going to show up, and if y'all don't pay me, I think somebody else will.
Pollard is also trying to rehabilitate, so I don't think his leverage is the same.
Yeah, he ain't got no.
He's kind of in a position where he feels like, hey, you know what? I'd love to be on the picket lines with you guys, but even if I was, my knee don't go out, so I probably need to just go ahead and chill and work on these jumps and this explosion, and then once I'm fully healthy again, then we can talk about my how I feel about the running back position. Till then, y'all got it. I only been in for a little while. I'm from Memphis. I don't know too much. I ain't got all that going on.
I ain't the first round pick like y'all. I didn't get the first round pick money. I was a 4th round pick, so this $10 million looking good to me.
Exactly. How do you pay for, if you have a running back, like everything that Mina Kimes dropped, right, in terms of like their value, like they're basically peaking early, but they don't get their pay until late. And then the day after they get paid, it's a wrap for them. So is there a way to create a pipeline that's a little bit quicker? I mean, you see it done in the NBA where it's like you got folks who can go into the G League or maybe some of the other programs that they have that kind of like allows for them to kind of jump outside of just the college process and pipeline and get in there. Is there a way for I don't know if it's the NFL, because they don't really want anybody else to make money or to do that. I think they profit from that college to NFL pipeline and the relationships that they have.
Are you talking about like a farm system?
Yes.
But see, the problem with the college is their farm system. But the problem is, it's not necessarily about them having a pipeline, because what's going to happen if you create a farm system for that position, right? They're just going to go there and they're going to get those carries. They're going to get that wear and tear. The issue is mainly focused around them being at their peak physically and having less wear and tear on a position that if you are a workhorse guy or a running back in general that gets, 15 or so touches for 5 consecutive years plus college, there is legitimate wear and tear that there's facts, undeniable facts now that the longevity is no longer there. Your production will almost never be as good as you were when you were under your rookie deal. So say they go get those 300, 400, 500 carries in a different league, it's still 300, 400, 500 carries or touches, whatever.
So ultimately, it's going to be a thankless job regardless.
A thankless job, unless like I said, my suggestion was some type of incentive laden deal. But you know what's going to happen with that? Well, if running back is getting an incentive coming out, I want to get an incentive. So I don't know where I ain't got the answer, Sway. It's like you said, it's a dirty position now.
The last thing I had is just last two, but I'll put it together like my man Reek do. So military comparisons and arguing about other people's money when that happens. So first, the military comparisons. I'm a vet. I was in the Air Force for a lot of years, and technically I'm still kind of in because I'm a reserve for a second.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for your support. We probably got to do a better job of kind of like just leaving the military alone when it comes to the complaining about what other people getting paid versus what these folks are getting paid, millions of dollars or whatever else, because it's just a different scale. And I think somebody else said in the chat talking about military is not for entertainment. Well, depends on who you talk to, but yeah, it's not for entertainment. So to be able to kind of like link those things together and say like we shouldn't be complaining about A because about B. That's that whataboutism that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can do your best to kind of steer clear from that, I'm not really trying to police people's conversations too tough, even though I'm a mod. But that's probably the one to kind of leave out. But at the end of the day, get your hand out of my pocket. That's all I really got. I just want to say, hey man, thanks for making me a mod, for all the opportunities you. Salute to the bro, Vach, all that kind of stuff. I was trying to get out to Oxnard, still working on that now, just to like pop up and, you know, salute, shake hands, kiss babies, things like that. But either way, I always appreciate the kind of full course media, new media substance that you guys put together, man.
Hey, we appreciate you, dog. And as you know, me and Vach already talked about it. There's hopefully more in store for you, bro. Thanks, fam.
Hey, we'll talk.
Yes,
Appreciate you, bro.
Salute. Good stuff from one brother L. I got you saved in here now, bro. Man, fantastic stuff there. It can get deep for sure, because again, we're talking about, as landlords said, we're talking about people. At the end of the day, they are people. But then on that other side of the day, there is the football operation side of it. So, you know, let's keep it moving here. D Shift, what's good, brother?
Hey, what's good, man?
I'm good. How you?
Man, I'm pretty good, man. You caught me taking a bite, bro. I didn't think I was gonna be on the. Yeah, man. But nah, dog. Now I was hearing the conversation. I saw the tagline as far as the quarterbacks, but when I jumped in, I heard the running back conversation.
That's all it's been today, and to the point where I absolutely just did a U-turn, called an audible. And that's pretty much what we'll talk about today. And Friday, we'll pick the quarterback back up.
Okay, man. Well, I guess I do have a little opinion just because it's been such a hot topic with the tag deadline.
Yep.
But man, honestly, man, I don't. In like my opinion, man, I don't know why it's such a big deal, because you, like when you do, because what's gonna happen is if you do get these guys the money, the same people tell them that they deserve the money, you're gonna, 4 or 5 years later, gonna say, well, they don't deserve the money. You know, so I mean, I think that's just the state of the position. It sucks because I guess there's so much, like, we remember so many like great running backs and like, you know, how long, you know, they were able to last. But I guess with change, you know, things like this are going to happen. So I think the nature, I think honestly, man, I think the fair thing to do is like if a guy's good enough to get taken in the first round, he should just only have to obligate himself to like a 2-year contract. And then, like, you know, give him that out the third year to see if, you know, if he gets paid, and, you know, you just treat the second on back like, you know, the same thing. Like,
yeah, in theory, that sounds great, but if you're a center, if you're a guard, if you're any other position, aren't you coming to the table for that same deal?
For sure, and I think that's where they have to look. You know, I think that's where the whole brothers in arms kind of thing, that it kind of disbands, you know, because the brotherly thing would be understand, well, your brother right here, these guys that play this position, they're not going to have a career as long as you, offensive lineman or wide receiver. They're not going to be able to see that second contract, because the difference is within those guys who get the second contract, they'll still have enough talent in the back end of that contract to still honor that contract. But running backs, like you see with Zeke, you know, he's not an old guy by no means, but it's just that he ran out of fuel to be able to honor the money that, you know, and which is not a lot of money, because it's still $15 million for essentially a playmaker. You know, like running backs put up as many plays as wide receivers. At the end of the day, like
let me break running back. In theory, you're saying the rest of the league should essentially come together and say, hey, look, I understand y'all situation. I understand your fight, and I'm willing to compromise and sacrifice fairness so you guys can catch up to what we deem as fair for the rest of the position. So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I think it's a pretty common sense situation. Because it's not a kicker, right? It's not a kicker where it's like, because when you look at that post with the kicker making more money annually than a running back, I don't know if you saw that kind of rolling around.
Yeah,
but there's some kicker with
there's like 32 kickers, and there's like 100 and something running backs though. So that's a stupid.
Yeah, but everybody who watches football knows that a running back's going to have more impact. It's just that is a kicker can honor his contract. You know, like when you're sitting up there missing, you know, you're willing to pay, you know, a kicker $3-4 million if it means, you know, not having Brett Maher.
Don't fall for the candy. You know, that's the stuff I'm talking about. Don't fall for the candy. Whoever made that up did that knowing damn well what they were doing to get the clicks and the engagement. You're comparing a kicker to a running back is goofy. Okay, the running back is taking on way more from a down in, down out basis than a kicker. This is not to diminish a kicker's responsibilities, but and when it comes to the numbers, they understood. If I take the top 32 contracts for a kicker and I take the top 164 running back contracts and I get a medium, the obviously you're going to have the kickers higher because there's less numbers to go off of. So
think about when Mike Glennon was getting paid more than Julio Jones, you know, a backup quarterback getting paid more than a premier wide receiver. And so we've been kind of beating the table in the sense with you know, quarterbacks getting paid too much. And now it's like, I don't know, it's just a tricky, it's just like the owners, like, you know, they kind of contradict themselves a lot, you know, and they're willing to do it, you know, over that dollar bill. So, and I get your whole frustration with the kicker running back comparison, and by no means, you know, I look at something like that, but it's just
it's what goes around
situation. Yeah, but man, I appreciate you taking my call, bro, and I'll hit you up, bro. Appreciate you.
Yep, salute. Yeah, tricky situation, Cowboys Nation. Look, I appreciate y'all for sticking around in this audible. I switched up the title and everything, 100% audible. So when y'all see this thing run back, same exact situation going on tomorrow for the quarterbacks, don't be alarmed. It is a brand new show. But here's what we're going to do. Take a quick little break, okay? Because we still got some more callers I want to get to. I want to get through everybody. I ain't got nowhere to be right now. We good to go. I want to get through everybody and hear what you guys are having to say, because there's a lot of good conversations that are being drummed up from this. So with that said, give me about 30 or so seconds, and we'll be right back, and we'll pick this conversation right up.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
in front of the millions
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Man, y'all not playing today. Y'all are not playing today. Just a quick little one. Line's still open. Just a quick little intermission, Greg. I find it interesting that we started the show talking about Zach Martin and wanting to get paid more, but it's the running backs that are the topic of conversation. There's only a handful that don't need a quality offensive line. There's only a handful, but that's really where it starts, right up front. And I think that's why you see teams like KC and teams like Philly say, "Oh, well, we got a quality line plus a scheme. We don't need that type of back." You would have thought at one point Dallas would think that way, but when you do have both, that's awesome. But at some point, you're going to eventually have to choose. And look, I'm sorry. I want the running backs to get paid, but if I had to choose allocating significant amount of money to the back or to the line, it's the line all day and tomorrow. Not even thinking twice about it, you know what I mean? Not even thinking twice about it. Facts. Rolo said Sky should make us listen to Kellen Moore interviews in the intermission. I can't listen to the dude, man. I know he's probably smart and all that behind the scenes, but it just does nothing for me in the interviews. Nothing. All right, we got some more, man. We got some heavy hitters. We got Marv, we got Queen, we got Reek, and then three numbers I'm not familiar with, starting with 757. So let's hear from Marv, man. What's good, Marv?
What up, Steve? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Look, we be out there in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna come check you.
Okay.
Meet you for the first time.
Yeah, then we're gonna run the 40. You said you was in trap. We running the 40.
Yeah. I pull a hamstring now.
Hey, look, I might pull one too, Marv. So look, instead of putting $100 on who you want to put on KJ making the team, put the $100 on me and you versus the 40. Who want to see me and Marv run the 40? Come on.
Still, how old are you?
What's up?
You young, ain't you?
Oh, you said how old am I?
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Nah.
Damn.
Yeah.
What's on your mind, Marv? What's on your mind, man?
Oh man, everybody got good points, but now you're gonna crack up still. What I'm about to say?
Oh shit.
Here we go. Now, here's for y'all. Now all the halfbacks should be loving Stephen Jones. He was trying to remember. Well,
you said all the halfbacks should be loving Stephen Jones?
Yeah, because you know why? He's trying to keep that quarterback rating down. And everybody overpaid all the quarterbacks, 40, 50, might go to 60. That's who took the running back money, the quarterbacks. Like you say, Dak, 25, 30. 35 should be the most for quarterbacks, 35 or 40. But now it's going to 50. Then it's going to go to 60.
It's going to keep going up.
It might be even 70. Yeah.
That's why I said, Marv, I think, and I've said this for a long time, I think quarterbacks should have their own salary cap. I think they should be placed in a entirely different tier because it's going to continue to rise. This isn't going to change because it's the most important position in sports. So, and they understand that. So it won't go down. It's not going to be like the running back position where you'll see the market plateau or go down. It's only going to increase, and that's just going to hinder the quote unquote salary cap if they continue to run the salary cap the way it is. But I think they should have their own thing. And then if you do that, running backs can get paid probably back to what they were getting paid.
Yeah. And look, they running back by committee. See, I got 3 running backs getting $2 million each. That's $6 million. You know what I'm saying? 3 running backs, $2 million each. Yep, or 1.5. You know what I'm saying? And they don't care now because they're gonna get another running back out of college. They're running 4-3-4-4, and he's gonna get, like you say, a good offensive line, and he's gonna be showing off. And then he's gonna say, "I want that money." Next man up, let me drop another one, and they're gonna keep doing it, and that's it. They killed the running back. And Zeke, he better be happy he got that money. And Zeke set for life.
Yeah, he's
set for life.
Christian McCaffrey, I would say, probably Christian, but Zeke and Derrick Henry, I think they got their contract around. No, Zeke got paid earlier, but Zeke and Derrick Henry kind of was the last of that 2016 and pre-2016 running back group that got the big bag. Everybody after was pretty much Christian McCaffrey, really the only one that's kind of still floating around with the money. Whereas Joe Mixon took a pay cut, Aaron Jones took a pay cut, Dalvin Cook got released, Ezekiel Elliott got released, Todd Gurley's not in the league anymore, neither is Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah,
and, so forth and so on.
And and Zeke got $5 million this year, and then $7 million, and that's it. It's over.
Who's that?
They own $12 million. That's what I was seeing on the write-up. I was watching the Fish report.
For who? Who are you talking about?
Zeke. For Zeke Elliott.
Oh, you're talking about the dead money.
Yes. So he get $12 million back from the Cowboys.
Well, I don't know if he gets income. Right? I don't know if he gets that back. He already got paid his money, but it will count on the salary cap because we prorated it. We did a bunch of restructuring his deal. So Dallas will be technically paying for it, but I don't think they'll be literally paying Zeke.
Okay. So you know what I'm saying. So it's too bad. You know they're gonna say. That's what I was telling. Remember. I said when they give if they give you, like I tell everybody, if the Cowboys come to you. First thing they do, undercover. I say, okay, man, we're going to do your contract. They try to talk to you without your agent. And then they say, okay, oh, man, we'll give you $15 million over 3 years. You like, man, forget that. I want my $15 million per year. And then I say, okay, we'll just give you the $15 million for the whole year, and that's it. After this, if you don't negotiate with them, you're gone. That's why TP smart to take that $10 million. Take that $10 million and run with it, brother. Because after that, and when he do get picked up by somebody else, if the Cowboys don't sign him back, the most he's going to get is $3 million. He's not getting $10 million no more. That's it, brother.
Very possible. It all depends how he's used this year. I'll say this, and this is kind of bringing back to Cowboys. If Tony Pollard comes out and he gets you 1,100 rushing yards, right, and he gets you 800 receiving yards from 60 catches or whatever, you could argue going into free agency next year, you could look at Tony Pollard as a guy that I'd be willing to pay upwards of that 10 because now I'm looking at him as a dual threat guy. That's something that Austin Eckler was trying to push to the Chargers, but the problem was he had already signed a contract. Where Tony Pollard has not done that yet. And here's the thing. TP doesn't have a ton of touches. I think TP did the absolute right thing here. Obviously, he's coming off the injury, so he doesn't have a bunch of leverage. But there is no need to shake things up by sitting out and doing. You want to be in the building, be around your people, learn the offense, learn the new responsibilities, come out, have a fantastic year, get into free agency and say, hey, I don't got 3,000 touches. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a bunch of wear and tear on my body. I got injured. Yeah, everybody gets nicked up at the position. But look at what I can be when I'm a featured guy in this offense or any offense. I can be a dual threat at the highest level. So, yeah, I want to come to the table for a bunch of money that I'm worth. And if I'm a team like the Bills or somebody that could use a dual threat guy like that doesn't really care about running the ball and handing it off 25 times to one guy, I look at Tony Pollard as a high-value guy.
Hey, what about if you Tony Pollard and if you do good like you just said, and then my man, I'm Catboy too. Catboy 1 come to you and say, okay, you want 10, and then I say, okay, I'll give you 3 years, $21 million. 777. I mean 7.
Well, we don't need to get into to details here, Marv. But TP, I think TP has a chance to make himself worth a fair contract next year.
Yeah, if he do that, then I think they might sign him back then because like he did what you just said. A key word that you just said. You came in there and still worked out. And you didn't complain. Yeah. Catboy love that. Catboy will pay you then.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? But if you be crying and
I don't know about this team. I don't know about this team, but another team maybe. Hey, Marv, I got more callers, man. Let me get to them, brother.
All right, family. Good show. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Yes, sir. Salute. Let's get to Miss Queen to be. What's up, Miss Queen?
Hi, darling. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. I'm just trying to make sure everybody else can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, because I had to clean my earbuds. Somebody told me earlier, you sound muffled. Do I sound muffled?
You said I sound muffled, or?
I said, do I sound muffled?
No. You sound like you normally sound.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so I'm calling, of course, about the running back situation. I think that, it's a terrible thing that has happened. They got together and colluded and said, this is what, we're going to do this with the running back. They had to get together for all of them to change their minds the way they did just for this season.
You think it's wait.
Huh?
It's not just this season. But you think it's collusion?
Well, yeah, I think it's collusion. When they had that last owners meeting, I believe they got together and, they probably had already been talking about it, but I feel like they put it into effect this year. Saying that they're not gonna pay this and that for the running back position.
Well, wait. So I think that's a different conversation. Let's say this here. The top three guys that are being discussed: Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Saquon. You could argue Jacobs, and Saquon, because Jacobs and Saquon have been the featured back on their team for years or whatever. But the running backs in general that were free agents, there weren't many that deserved more than, well, I shouldn't use the word deserve, but there weren't many that were worth paying premium running back money to. I think you would agree with that. There wasn't a bunch of Saquon Barkleys out there. I mean, are you going to pay Jamal Williams with Saquon, a Ezekiel Elliott contract?
No. I believe that they should get paid their value. Like Zeke was worth what he got paid. You see what I'm saying? The other ones that we're talking about featuring, they deserve to get the big money. You know what I mean? Because they're making all of the hold on just a second. Hello?
I got you.
Okay. They're making all of the money. So, I mean, they're making all of the plays for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, that they need to make, and more. Some of them, like you said, were carrying the team. They're carrying the whole offense. So, they deserve to get the upper echelon pay. But my number one thing that I think could be a good solution is that the ones that are going to be dogs when they come into the league, I believe that they should get front-loaded contracts for the first 2 years.
So only the ones you think are going to be dogs? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because those are the ones that's probably going to get drafted first.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you can do that, though, because there's a lot of like second and third and fourth round running backs that are uber productive as well, Tony Pollard, for instance. Tony Pollard's a fourth round running back. Can you imagine? He's been productive over the last 2.5 seasons, and you get to a point where you're seeing a guy who wasn't productive getting paid more than you, but because he got drafted in the first or second round, like, you don't know who's going to be a dog. That's the problem, right? You just don't know who's going to be a dog. Yeah, a dog can come out of the fifth round, And when it comes to running backs, a lot of these dogs are coming between 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 round, or undrafted. So it's tough to kind of decipher that. It's tough. It's Queen, we trying to figure it out, man. There's no easy solution here. And right now, I would truly do this. If I was the Ecklers and the Alvin Kamaras of the world, I would just transition into a slot receiver at the later parts of my career. Seriously.
Well, that would be smart for them. But I was also thinking that maybe they could set it up where they have a base salary and then have the rest of it be incentive based for their production.
Yeah. That's the other thing I'm thinking as well. I'm right there with you. Maybe you give them a heavily incentive-based contract coming out. If I had to play devil's advocate to that idea as well, what if other college players might want to do the same thing? Because it's one thing for the NFLPA or the NFL veteran players to say, all right, look, we'll come together and let running backs do this or that in the league. It's another thing to say a college student that's a corner coming out or that's a guard coming out saying, hey, look, what do you mean incentive-based contract for him? I'm not in the league yet. I want an incentive-based contract as well. So you got to think about that.
Well, don't they have like a certain amount that they pay players that's coming in each round? Don't they have like
a rookie scale
base amount of pay?
Yeah, there's
so they go according to the rookie scale, right? So when you're a rookie, that's what you got to deal with is your rookie scale. Okay, but when it's time for you to get a contract, I believe that the running backs should have a base salary, and then the rest of their pay is heavy incentive based. I mean, at least for the, once they get a contract, I believe that it should be incentive based, because you can probably make a whole lot more money than what they're talking about by doing your job.
Yeah, that opens up a whole different can. Now, because now are you talking about taking away guarantees and replacing it with incentive bases? That's something that they're not trying to do. The league is actually trying to push for more guarantees because other leagues are fully guaranteed contracts where the NFL was not. So again, we're getting into the nuances of it that go into a totally different direction that I don't got the brain power to really speak on, as well as others like a KD Drummond, Joey Ikes, and those guys. But I'm pretty sure they're not trying to get rid of fully guaranteed or mostly guaranteed for mostly incentive based, because if you don't cut it, if you do get hurt, you ain't got no money for you anymore. Whereas if I got guaranteed money, that's guaranteed money in my pocket.
Well, that's where the what I was talking about as far as like making sure that you have that base salary. You say, okay, you're gonna have this base salary that is sufficient.
Everybody when you're negotiating everybody has a base salary, Queen. Everybody gets a base salary, but the base salary is different than the whole guarantee for the life of the contract. Like again, I don't want to get it because what you're saying is you can say that for every position that hits free agency. Oh, I'll get a base salary and I put incentives. Everybody has incentives in their contract. What you're saying is essentially getting rid of the regression for real. Is here's my base and then just incentives. Well, what about the guaranteed over the life of the deal? If they sign a 4-year deal and you get this paid, you get a base salary for 2023 and the rest of your contract is incentive based, I'm not signing that deal.
No, that's not what I was saying.
Then what are you saying?
I'm saying a base salary every year plus incentives.
Yeah, but the base doesn't guarantee, like there's not a guarantee. So give me an example of a contract. Go.
The base salary is guaranteed every year, and anything else that you get is incentive based.
So essentially, what they're doing now, it's a regular contract. You're just speaking like a regular contract. I'm gonna negotiate my base salary. I'm gonna negotiate my base salary. Here's my guarantee that I'm agreeing with, and then here's the incentives if I hit 1,000 yards. That's a normal contract.
Well, see, okay. So I didn't know that they were paid for, incentive. They were getting incentives for stuff like that. But I mean, I think that if they go above and beyond, like say for instance, Tony Pollard, yeah, he's a running back, but he also, can be used like a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He catches passes, or like a tight end, he catches passes, and gets yards that way. So that should be additional money that he gets paid, because is that outside of the scope of what a running back really is to, be used like a tight end or a wide receiver?
Say again.
I said, is being used like a tight end or a wide receiver different from the scope of what a running back really is?
Not sure I quite follow the question there, but yeah, dual threat running backs is kind of what I was saying earlier. If I'm a dual threat guy, I think I do have a bit more value, and when it comes to negotiation, and if I'm kind of just a ground and pound type of dude.
Right. That's what I was talking about. Like Tony Pollard is dual threat, right?
Yes, I think Tony Pollard is one of the best dual threat backs we have right now. Yes.
So his contract should be totally different from somebody that is not. but it seems like they're trying to diminish them to like $5 million, $3 million, $4 million a year when they're worth way more than that.
Yeah. I think we're kind of starting to go left a bit. It's more. This is more about the entirety of the running back and not just TP, but because TP, if we're being completely honest, like I said, I think he did the right thing. I don't think he had a ton of leverage here because he's not. Yeah. All right.
TP did exactly what he needed to do. Okay, thank you, Sky.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I mean, all right, here we go. Let's get the Reek, man. What's good, Reek?
Hey, what's going on, Sky? What's going on, Cowboy Nation? What's up?
What's up, man?
Cooler. I think it's wrong in the league to diminish the running backs because all of us, like a lot of us growing up watching football, we had great running backs. You know, we watched some of the best running backs on the field do their damn thing. And when they held out, you seen the effect that the running back had on the team, even with us, with Emmett. They hurt and paid him after we started losing. So it is for the league not to.
That was in 1990, like
compensate.
That's a totally, or was it
1995?
That's so we can't talk about what Emmett into 2023. I think
what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, Sky. This is what I'm saying. You cannot diminish the position because some of these players are getting hurt a little bit more now than they was back in the day. You don't have that many workhorse running backs.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that are special, you cannot throw them under the bus and say that we're not going to pay you because a lot of them, they all around players. They blockers, they running backs, they're receivers. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones that's the last line of defense to block for the quarterback. You know what I mean? Because the quarterbacks can get killed without some of these running backs on the team. And you don't want to piss these guys off.
So let me ask you,
how many special like you're not compensating them?
How many special running backs are in the league, according to you? Like, name the special running backs. Remember, you said special.
Well, I think special.
Hmm?
I like Jacobs. I like Chubb.
I don't think Jacobs is special. Chubbs is paid.
Okay. Shit. I'm not gonna go down the line of this. What I'm saying is this.
No. You have to go down the line because your stance is to pay the special backs. I don't necessarily. I want to listen to that because I do think there's something to paying special players. But who are the special players at the position?
I think Saquon. I feel like Saquon is a good running back.
Okay, you said good. You say I'm talking about special. Name the special ones because I want to know if the special ones have been paid.
Well, we don't have the Adrian Petersons and all that stuff no more. I get what you're saying. We don't have those guys anymore in the league, but we do got good quality running backs.
Right, but your
should get paid
is to
for doing their job.
The special backs, and if your argument is to pay the special backs, and do you consider Chubb special? He's paid. CMC, he's paid. Derrick Henry, he's paid. Zeke, when he was special, he got paid. Todd Gurley, when he was special, got paid. Avion got paid. Like the special backs got paid. I don't think Josh Jacobs is special, me personally. Tony Pollard's not in a position to be considered that either. He's not even in a position to get paid like those other guys because he hasn't been featured in that manner. So of the special backs in the league, wouldn't you consider them already having been paid? And there's not many of them.
Yeah, it's not many of them.
Right.
It's not many of them. Well, I mean, even the good running backs, too. I think some of them should get paid a decent amount of money. You know what I mean? I don't see how the running back position has diminished that fast over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it's because of that they found out that I can get rookie running backs to perform at a high level, and I don't have to pay good to average running backs above average or good money. I think that's kind of that situation we were talking about. How do we find a middle ground when constantly rookies, Dameon Pierce, the Pierces of the world are coming in and being extremely productive early on?
So you're saying that he's not going to want to get paid?
Well,
like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to want any money if he know that he's doing a good job.
I didn't say he ain't going. They all going to want to get paid, but then it's going to come back around to, well, we appreciate your services. You just racked up 1,200 carries in 3 years or whatever it is, and you're worn down a bit. Now we're going to get a fresh guy out of college that can do the same thing. or a better guy. That's what they're doing to these running backs now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But if these running backs start letting these quarterbacks get killed, don't you think the tune would change around here a little bit? Because guys are getting a little envious that they got a big money quarterback back here getting all the money, but they doing a lot of the workload. They're making this quarterback look good. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just look at it like this, man. Make sure.
Locker room, yeah, that's not a thing. I can tell you that right now. That's a cardinal rule you do not do in that locker room. You envious because another man got his contract. That type of feeling honestly is worse than you saying, I'm doing all the work. Like that will get you kicked out the locker room. Watching my pockets because I'm getting my bread,
Yeah, because the reason I'm saying that is like a person like Saquon Barkley should get paid because Daniel Jones wouldn't look that good without Barkley.
Right.
You know what I mean? On that
he's
team.
not going to go in that locker room and come at Daniel Jones. All he's done publicly and probably to Daniel Jones is support Daniel Jones getting his bread too. And Daniel Jones obviously has supported Saquon wanting to get his bread. We can say it's ridiculous that Saquon is not getting paid because he helps a Daniel Jones. But what you're saying is, don't you think they're going to say, hey, I'm the last line of defense. How is he getting more than me in that locker room? No. You don't do that.
I don't think he's going to say that. Yeah. I agree with you on that point. I don't think he's going to go in the locker room saying that. But you never know what a person's thinking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Daniel Jones did not look that damn good without Saquon carrying the load last year. You know what I mean? And I think that running backs like that, they definitely should get paid if they're a big staple of that team.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Saquon,
and they doing what they got to do.
Not being paid is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that they elected to pay Daniel Jones and not Saquon Barkley. Now, here's the thing. They offered him a contract of something like, according to Schefter, $22 million guaranteed contract. So somebody could say, well, why didn't Saquon take the $22 million? I don't know. He did break it down. I didn't go listen to it, but he talked about why he didn't do it. If you guys want to go check it out, he was on a podcast. But according to Schefter, they offered him a $22 million total guaranteed contract, which essentially is kind of the franchise tag 2 years in a row. So there's that.
Yeah, I got you, Scott. All right, that's all I really wanted to come in and ask you, man. Because they I feel like the league is trying to do the running back position wrong, man. But I understand why they're doing it in a sense because they can recycle running backs, but you can't recycle all the damn running backs because some of these running backs are good running backs,
right? And
you just can't just give them up like that. That's bug.
Yeah.
But all right, that's all I had to say today, man. I'm gonna holler at you, Sky.
Yes, sir. Salute. And it's a team per team basis too. Tennessee Titans is a perfect example. Tennessee, they kind of did the Cowboy way, right? Like, we're going to build an offensive line and we're going to have, a running back like Derrick Henry perform behind that offensive line. Eventually, Derrick Henry actually elevated past the offensive line and they decided to pay Derrick Henry because he is the offense. They understand that, kind of the opposite of apparently what the Giants think, that Saquon's not the offense. Although Saquon injuries, we can get into that context too. But there aren't many teams like the Titans where, hey, this is our identity. We're running the ball in this manner. We're featuring the running back. We don't care for our quarterback play to be extremely high level. And this is how we're going to ride it out, do or die. And they've died, like they've said, we're going to be a Derrick Henry team for his tenure. That is not how the league is now. And when it was time, and it worked for a year, like it worked. But when it was time for the quarterback to be the quarterback and step up, it didn't work out. And now they're still doing the Derrick Henry thing, and the quarterback is second. And here they are in this cycle of Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill, and then we drafted Will Levis, and now they're trying to figure that out. When all along, if they figured out the quarterback situation with the Derrick Henry, maybe, just maybe, they could have gotten over that hump at that point in time. But there ain't too many Derrick Henry type of driven teams. There ain't too many Christian McCaffreys that can go 1,000 at a high level. There aren't too many. There aren't too many Saquon Barkley's talent-wise. Although injuries, like we said. So it's a tricky conversation, man. Just so tricky, man. All right, we get a couple more in here. We got the heavy hitters out. We doing super overtime today. 757, what it do? Seven 757, you live?
Oh, hello.
Yes, sir.
What's up, Scott?
What's going on, man?
My bad, man.
Mad Lodo.
It's my first time calling, but I met you back in my first Dallas game. It was Dallas against the Washington Wizards.
Was it this past season?
We beat them by last year. We beat them by like 50 to or maybe like
2020, the 2021 year. All right, okay.
Yeah. I took a picture with you. It was a pretty fun game, but I wanted to touch on the running back position. I mean, I think everybody's looking at it wrong way. I think it's a good thing. I think the running backs are going to last longer. They're going to probably last 5 to 7 years because it's going to be a two-back system.
Very good.
Money is going to work itself out. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I'm just ad-libbing. I said very good point.
Yeah, I think it's going to work itself out with the money, but, right now it's, looking crazy, but I think, 2-3 years are going to be a two-back system, and, the top backs are going to get paid what they deserve, and it's going to be, you're going to last longer. I think it's going to be, better for running back position, in my opinion.
It's interesting, right? Like if I was Zeke or if I was Derek, there's a competitive nature in you that says, give me the ball 30 times in this game and let's rock. I got you. But then there's what Zeke realized in 2021, kind of later in that year when he had a conversation that, wait a minute, if I can get me another back that can come in there and still ball out, that just might save my career and extend it a little bit longer, right? But when you're young, you're not thinking that way. I'm young. I'm invincible. I'm not going to get hurt. I'm good. Give me the carries and let me build up my resume. Let me get this bread. So it's kind of a catch-22 because I agree. I think duo committee approach benefits everyone. But then there are those Derrick Henrys, Ezekiel Elliott's coming in, Saquon Barkley's where you're like, hey, dog, look, I'm all for a duo approach, but I know that this man, if I give him the rock a bunch early on, he's best for our team. But what my wonder is, why not start to invest in the running back position in that way, right? It's going to sound crazy because I'm not saying you draft 2 running backs high, but invest in them in the sense of, hey, Tony Pollard and I don't know who else was in that draft, but whoever else was in the 2019 draft, you take one in the 4th, you took another in the it has too much. Never mind. That's too many running backs being taken. That's too many running backs. It's tough, bro. It's tough.
Yeah. And I wanted to say one more thing about CeeDee Lamb, man. If I have a little bit of time.
Yeah, go ahead.
CeeDee Lamb has never played a full season with Dak Prescott. Is that true?
2021. You could. I would say that was technically a full season. I mean, yeah, he missed the game, and then Dak missed the game, but that was. I mean, look, everybody's going to get dinged up, might miss a game or two, but I would consider that a full season.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm excited for CeeDee Lamb this year. I think he's going to have more yards than Justin Jefferson had last year, honestly, in my opinion, about 12 touchdowns.
Lamb is going to go off. He's going to continue to put it this way. He's only had one full season, if you want to go there. One full season with Dak.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited for big things, man. I would say I love you. Respect what you do. You and Vach, and I'll be calling a lot more, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You too.
Man, that thought almost sent me into the abyss, man. I was sitting about to draft 2 running backs in the top 4 rounds. But no, what I'm trying to explain, and again, we just talking, just thinking this thing out loud, is if they invest into the running back position from a committee standpoint via draft, could that be more of an advantage in the longevity of their top guy? So, for instance, if you got 2 good rookie running backs on a if you got 2 good running backs on rookie deals, and one of them is a supreme standout, then you can decipher, okay, I'm going to pay this running back and then I'm going to let this other guy walk and get his bag elsewhere and continue to replenish it that way. Then I'm going to go draft a guy, and when his contract's up, if he's like that, I'll pay him. But I don't think you're going to see the salary rise. I think you might just see it kind of stay flat in a sense, unless you get a special player like Reek was saying. But how many of them, exist year in, year out? A bunch of good ones, a bunch of Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cooks, right? I mean, these guys are really damn good backs. I wouldn't consider them special, but they're really damn good backs. And if I can get really damn good backs like Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook in the second, third, fourth round, and they play like that under their rookie contracts, why wouldn't I keep going to that well? Whereas I see people bring up a quarterback conversation, you ain't getting it that way. That's not happening at the quarterback position, and it's a more important position. Same thing with wide receiver. Wide receiver, I think, is a more valuable position in today's game. So I'm just thinking out loud. Jeff said, would you pay two guys? I know the unpopular thing is to put the money in the running back, isn't to put the money in the running back room. No. That's what I'm saying. Maybe I pay my top guy and then draft that committee guy replacement, but I wouldn't pay my top guy the Zeke, Le'Veon, Todd Gurley money. I think those days are over, y'all. I just don't think that's gonna happen that much anymore. 609, what it is, what it do? Let me lock this up.
It has been locked.
Got a couple more.
Hey there, am I on?
Yes, sir. You are live.
Hey, what's going on, Sky? Long time fan of the show.
Thank you, man.
Used to be a caller on Vacha's show. My name is Zach. I'm from Jersey.
What's good, Zach?
So I just wanted to weigh in on this topic and compliment everybody for the great takes today and you quarterbacking this show. So I think a solution that I might have to this running back situation is I think what they need to do is maybe perhaps put a cap on carries a single running back can have in a season. And that takes care of the player safety component because that is a major component of the running back position. And it also doesn't take away from the physicality of the position. And I think by putting a cap on carries, say to like 200 carries per running back, that will put more of a premium on those truly special guys. And it'll also allow kind of like the floor of the pay of running backs to kind of raise as well, because then it allows for a running back room that has more specialization. And I also would not include pass catching a part of that component, so just strictly carries on the ground. So that way running backs who could block, pass catch, and run between the tackles and outside the tackles, are truly valued. And it's just modifying the whole supply and demand issue by regulating the snaps. So that would be my solution there. And it also doesn't require any other fancy mechanics to level the playing field. So what are your thoughts on that?
Interesting. So when you say cap, right, are you saying this is regulated by the NFL or just teams in general? Just because I think that's what the Cowboys were trying to do last year in regards to spreading out the carries with TP and with Ezekiel Elliott. But when you say put cap on carries, are you saying like, hey, no running backs can get over 200 or 200 carries, and this is an NFL rule?
Yeah, I think it should be an NFL policy. And if I was the running backs, it wouldn't rock the boat from a players' association standpoint. Like, they're not saying, oh, well, we need to have special measures like or special treatment.
Hey, Zach, let me just sit here thinking, right? Look, don't get it twisted. That would be fun in another universe. Because think about this. What happens, right? You get a running back that's balling in a certain game. Maybe at the end of the year, running back just killing them. Can't stop them. Hey, dog, you capped out. Now we got to put in the second or the third guy, and it's not the same. I mean, that would be fun from a fan perspective. Like, I don't know if it'd be fun, but it'd be interesting to see. But I can't ever see them like that. That kind of would suck for offensive coordinators and teams. But damn, that's interesting.
Yeah, but every team is affected, and it requires like a really good stable of running backs with various skill sets. And then also, I think the problem here is that they're abusing rookie contracts with running backs. And this also solves that problem because in the long run, you're going to be preserving players, which means the skill floor for running back stables will also increase over time because you'll have veteran presence. Like you'll have veteran running backs who are, into their 8th, 9th year who are still contributing at a relatively high level, and they're going to be more valued to bring those types of players into the running back room. And so I think over time it'll actually lead to interesting concepts and things happening with offenses. So sure, I think that problem that you just said, yes, like would be a season-to-season issue, but over time offenses will adapt and they will come up with like unique ways to manage that.
I agree. I think they would adapt to it. It would be a very drastic change. The basis, the premise of what you're saying, I'm all for, which is essentially to spread out the touches and the physicality at the running back position so these guys can last longer and they can be more effective, right? Longer. Let's just be honest. They can be more effective longer. It's just the cap part that is tricky and would be the drastic change. And man, I'm not like crushing the idea. I just think, I don't know if coaches would go for it because of a Saquon Barkley situation, because of a Derrick Henry situation where this guy is quite literally our team. And if we can't give him the ball as many times as we want to give him the ball, that will hinder our chance to win. Early on, it might be looked upon like that, but eventually, if the league were to do it, they would have to adapt. But that is a fun idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be great, and I think the reason why this could work from a realistic scenario perspective is because I think players will, like from a NFL Players Association perspective, is I think players would be sympathetic to the running back saying, hey, we need to limit the amount of hits on our bodies. And I think the NFL would be receptive to that message from a safety standpoint. And I think the bigger media messaging standpoint would be this is a rational middle ground.
Gotcha, man. I want to dive into a little bit more. Hey, great call, Zach. Definitely an idea that got me thinking here.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one. All right.
Yes, sir. Salute. So again, I'm with the premise. I'm with the premise of not having any of your backs have 250, 300 carries in a season. I would just eliminate a hard cap. I wouldn't want it to be a rule. Maybe an unwritten rule, maybe a philosophical rule within the franchise. And honestly, it's kind of what is happening throughout the league. But as a general rule, that'd be tough. It'd be tough to do. But if my team came out and said, hey, look, our idea, our philosophy here is to not run one guy into the ground. Thus, we will be load managing or what have you, our running backs. I'm all for that. And that's something that I wish they would have did immediately when they drafted Tony Pollard, bringing this back to the Cowboys. You saw it immediately like, oh, this guy has a skill. He has a specific set of skills that complements Ezekiel Elliott to the point where we do not need to lean on Ezekiel Elliott for 300 plus touches a season. Get this guy involved. And it took 2.5 seasons to finally have it happen. And then essentially 3-4 seasons for him to be a feature. So interesting idea, Zach. D Shift said this has to be the longest show ever. Nah, brother. We so there's been 2 channels and then there's been videos we had to delete. We've done some long ones prior to A to Z, and we've done some long ones, obviously with the draft, right, D Shift? But it is probably the longest one we've had under the kind of new turn that we've been doing over the last year and a half. Yeah, maybe. I gotta check it out and see. Because I want to get through the rest of these. We got 3 more callers. We got 615-501 and then 314. What's good, 615?
Hey guys, it's Jazz with BLS. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Jazz? AKA, what's your roller derby name?
Lethal.
Lethal. Here we go. What's up, Lethal?
I'll admit I've been on hold for a really long time, so I don't even know if my point is relevant. I'd actually called back when people were talking more about the CBA and stuff like that, because
it still matters. Go ahead.
Well, I guess my thing about the CBA is this, because a lot of people bring it up and they bring up good points about different ways contracts could be constructed and the ways that players could be paid. But the thing is, it's like, this is a very relevant topic right now. And the CBA is, the current one is going to go until 2030 and technically could in theory, they like renegotiate some things before then, yes. But then you would be asking for like owners and teams to actually take an interest in this to the point where they want to derail all their other plans in order to focus on that. And I just don't see that happening. And not only that, but I think sometimes, I really can't think of a nice way to say it, but I think sometimes people give the NFLPA a little bit too much credit whenever it comes to what they think the NFLPA will do, especially in terms of the CBA. Because one of the biggest issues when it comes to changing the CBA is the fact that because it's not changed very often, it's really hard to take something that's like relevant right now, and then let's say, all right, this one is supposed to expire in 2030. So let's say they even manage to keep it relevant for the next couple years. Can it stay relevant for 5 years, 6 years, or what other developments might come along that might make the current arguments null and void and they have to come up with new arguments? And so when I say the NFLPA isn't effective, it's not so much that I think they're incompetent. I just think that some of the things that they're expected to do are outside of their strength. Because it's like, if you think about the NFLPA and the fact that, you know, players are expected to give input into those negotiations, and what you're essentially saying is that these young guys who come in their early 20s and are given all this money for the first time in their life and are trying to deal with all the pressures of this new identity, now you want them to start learning legalese and negotiating on their own behalf with owners who have set up a system that's to work to their benefit, and they're somehow supposed to outsmart, out-negotiate these owners, like be more shrewd than them. It's just not something that I see happening. But what they can do is some of the stuff that people have been talking about right now. Like, there's a lot of things that I think running backs bring to the table that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. And maybe not every running back, but some of them at least. And I think putting a spotlight on things like that, as well as players kind of doing what you mentioned as far as, like, instead of saying, hey, I'm a running back who can also act as a receiver, or I'm a running back who also pass blocks. Like, they need to actually start looking at ways to change their titles a little bit. Because versatility is definitely valued, but it's valued in terms of how you're used. But when it comes to negotiations and titles, versatility doesn't really have a role in those conversations yet. And so people really need to find a way to, I guess, bring that into the conversation. But that is one reason why I think platforms like this are valuable, because one thing that happens is that media is used to control the narrative, right? And I think we're at a point where it's not just mainstream media, it is platforms like this and other more independent content creators and YouTubers who are controlling the narrative. As a matter of fact, going back to what Toxic Tom said earlier today, it made me think about the situation with the YouTuber who's actually being sponsored by the NFL to take a show to like 8 different cities and London this year, right? And so the NFL, they could have like gone to ESPN or Fox Sports or wherever. No, they got this YouTuber and they're like, no, we're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to take what you're already doing and put you on the road and have you create content for us. The NFL is really excited about this partnership with YouTube. Anyway, back to the topic. But yeah, when it comes to the narrative, that's why I get like really, I don't like people using the word collusion, because it's so easy for the NFL to prove that they're not colluding. But whenever it comes to what they actually are doing, it makes me think about what happened during the managers' meetings earlier this year when they were talking about the Thursday night flex thing. And so one of the owners was like, yeah, it's going to pass because there's about 26 owners who don't pay attention to what's happening, and they just kind of go along with what the other 6 do. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing happening with running backs, is that like there's a lot of potential for creativity, both in how running backs are used, in terms of giving them a little bit more longevity, and also in how they're paid, with a lot of the things that people have talked about today, and restructuring their contracts and deals so that they do get paid more when they're actually at their peak. Because all of those things are true. They do peak during the times when they're usually still in their rookie contract, and they are more susceptible to injury. But it's like it would just take so much effort to put in that level of creativity. It's easier for owners to just be like, no, we'll just go with what the trends are. And so when Mina Kimes says, like, we can't make teams act against our own interests, that's what she's talking about. We can't force these people to actually put in the effort necessary to do right by these players when it's documented in the CBA that they literally don't have to. But I do think platforms like this could start talking about players differently, could approach these conversations in a way to where the narrative doesn't get sidetracked with the narrative that benefits the owners. And that's also why, in addition to the fact that I don't like hearing people talk about collusion, I cannot stand when people take the side of the owners. Like, these owners have, like, way too much money. There's never a reason to not advocate for players getting paid. Sorry. What?
If I may. I don't think there's collusion. This has nothing to do with collusion, number one. I think owners being thrown around, this ain't got nothing to do with the owners. Not for the running backs. I want to harken back to what Marcus said. And I laughed at it, just like in general, like just playing around, but I wasn't laughing at what he said because I think there's something to it. If nothing changes in the way these guys are being used by the coaches on the field, then nothing is going to change above these coaches. And I know he said blame the offensive coordinators, but I think there's something to it. Offensive coordinators are also understanding, not just owners. Owners, a lot of these dudes aren't Jerry Jones where their hands is in everything. Now, Jerry's kind of not as, close to the field as he used to be. But a lot of these owners are not understanding of what's happening X's and O's Y's. A lot of these owners actually hire general managers who are the ones that understand I don't need to pay XYZ running back because I can get, Rashad Penny and whomever else to do the same type of things. But if the coaches don't change the tune on how these running backs are used, I don't think the owners are. And then to go back to your original point about the CBA, you're right. The CBA ain't up till 2030. They're not going to go back because of the running backs. This isn't the owner meetings league or the league meetings where you're changing rules every year. They can't change the CBA every year. So you're right. Will this conversation carry 6 years from now? I would say yes. And here's why I'm going to say yes. Because it's already carried 6 years from 6 years ago. Remember, I did that research back in 2015. That was 8 years ago. It's essentially the same situation. It's a running back by committee league. I don't really see it changing.
Yeah, I don't see it changing either. And I do think you're right that a lot of it starts with how the players are used on the field. But I still think that there are some things that running backs do that really just don't get acknowledged as much as it should. But I want to respond real quick to what Brother L said in the comments about the word collusion. Like, yeah, you're right. Everything else about the word collusion applies except for the word illegal. But that's kind of the point. It's like if everybody starts using the word collusion, then it's so easy for teams to just start being like, oh, well, it's not collusion because of this, and completely dismiss the argument that people are trying to make. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes the words that we use do matter in terms of how the narrative is constructed and how it's argued against.
The word that we need to use is evolution. But see, evolution sounds good. It's because there is good to this when it comes to building the team and when it comes to doing what's best for your team. The running back position has evolved. The way to utilize the running back position has evolved. And because of that evolution, that's where we get what's happening right now, where I don't need a workhorse back. But evolution is not the catchy word, and it's not gonna get the same headlines as collusion. Collusion sounds like, oh my God, they're doing these guys dirty. I don't think they're doing them dirty. I think what's happening is the position has evolved. The game has evolved to the point where running backs right now, the actual position of running back does not need to rely on an individual anymore.
I think they're doing them dirty in the sense that, a lot of players are coming into the league under the impression that they'll do so much work under their rookie deal, and then if they perform well, they will have the opportunity to get a bigger deal.
Well, are you talking about running back position, or are you talking about players? Because that's two different things. I'm talking about the running back position.
That last statement was about players in general, right? But what's happening to running backs is exactly what you've been talking about, where they come into that league under that same system that's supposed to benefit them after so many years of production. But usually if they have the level of production that's supposed to get them that payday, a lot of times they've either been injured or maybe they've already peaked, and teams are a little bit more skeptical of giving them that payday. So it's like the system that seems to work so well for everybody else isn't working as well for them. And so in that sense, I do think they are being done dirty in a way to where they can be just as significant to their team as someone in another position, but they don't get that same reward as someone in another position might receive. So there are words that we can use like negligence towards the situation of running back. We could talk about how owners are being dismissive. We can say that owners are a little bit ignorant. We can say that owners are kind of succumbing to the trends or succumbing to the hype and the narrative. There's a lot of things, or like, you're right, I shouldn't say owners. I keep hearing that in my head. I'm like, he's right about that. But yeah, owners, teams, general managers, the powers that be is the phrase that I use a lot. there's a lot of things that they're not doing right in terms of how they're treating running backs. They do have a point.
No arguments on look, the salary cap in general, right? It was designed to stop players from getting as much money as possible. So that could be a whole conversation where the owners came together and said, "Now we got to cap this league, so we're not paying them more money." So, and that obviously trickled eventually. It took a while, right? It took a while to get here, but that eventually trickled down to the running back position due to the evolution, I think, of the running backs in the game. And it sucks because I don't know what the answer is for that specific position, but sooner or later, there's going to be another position. There's going to be another position that's going to come up and say, "Well, damn it, I don't think we're getting paid enough," and that position might be center. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's a conversation that evolves, but I guess to me the reason why I wasn't sure if this conversation would last until the next CBA is because of how fast the conversation is evolving and the fact that there are so many decisions that need to be made regarding these players right now. So the issue itself will obviously still be relevant in terms of in the sense that players are going to want to fight for fair pay. But I don't think the same conversation that we're having now will be the same conversation that we're having in 2028. And it's crazy to think about still even doing this in 5 years. But I think it's going to evolve. But I think what's happening right now is that show hosts like yourself are in a unique position to actually guide the conversation in a way that could actually benefit players. Whereas I would say a few years ago, that might not have been the case. Just people are listening on a different level. And I like to bring that up when I can, just because, like I said, I think the NFLPA is going to need some help. They're going to need advocates. They're going to need people who are willing to tell the truth and tell the full story whenever a lot of news is put out there to work against the players. Not saying that we all have to turn into advocates or anything, or activists. Yeah, no, we don't have to turn into activists. We should be advocates. Sorry. But yeah, I do think it's important for the people who are paying attention to tell the truth about the situation, and I do think it's going to take a creative solution, something besides, the NFLPA will do this and that. The NFLPA, they're having trouble with the grievances they've already filed. We had, not talking about the Super Bowl situation, there literally was a situation last year where players were playing on a field that violated the safety conditions that they're supposed to play under the CBA. It just so happened that the grievance process players have to go through in order to not do that isn't set up to actually delay or cancel the game. So they just kind of have to deal with it and file a grievance and wait 10 business days for a response, and who knows what happened with that. So I say all that to say, as long as the document is and as much work as the NFLPA puts in, there's still only so much they can do, and there's a lot of issues that they have yet to address. So when it comes to things like this, if we do feel like it's important, and I'm guessing that it is, considering that the show's been going on for so long, I think it's just important to have the conversation in the right way and to keep presenting solutions that are based in reality.
Yep. I think that's kind of where the running backs are at right now. They just want to have the discussion. And Austin Eckler said it best. Can you guys get the owners on here? Because he's bringing up the owners and ask them, when it really should be general managers, and ask them why they're not paying us. I think that could be a step. A great call though, Jazz. Appreciate you.
Sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That is Jazz from, and this is her podcast. I'm calling her that. Bitches Love Sports. Make sure y'all check her out and her friend, her co-host on their podcast, video, I think, and audio via YouTube. Bitches Love Sports. Appreciate you, Oscar. Man, it again, like I said, it can get deep. And she said something there about telling the truth or talking about the truth. One thing about me personally, and you guys can attest to this, I truly like to focus on the game, right? I understand this part of the game is there. This part of the business aspect of the game is there. But my truth about it always reflects back to the game. And I just keep thinking, unless the actual game changes, and that's what the one caller brought up in regards to, a potential rule change of carries. If the game doesn't change, I don't see how this is going to change. She said maybe the conversation might not be the same, and she doesn't think the conversation be the same in 8 years. I tell you this: if the conversation is no longer the same conversation or conversation at all, the running back position will have essentially, I don't want to use the word died out, but the feature back, the workhorse back, the expensive back, it will have went to a point where draft, run them, get rid of them, repeat. Draft, run them, get rid of them, repeat. It won't even be the Chubbs and the Derrick Henrys and the whatevers of the world, because it will now become the norm to the point 5 years, 6 years from now, there's no need to have a conversation because this is just what you do. Similar to what they're doing with quarterbacks right now. There is no conversation about taking a quarterback in round 1 or the top 10 because that's what you do, right? When in reality, a lot of those quarterbacks fail. A lot of those picks don't pan out. There is no guarantee that you take a quarterback in the top 10 that you're going to have a franchise quarterback. But the way that this rolls is that you take a quarterback in the first round. You take a quarterback in the top 10. That's how you do it. No one's talking about that anymore because that's what you do. We might get to a point now, which we're already there draft-wise. Nobody's all up in arms about not taking a running back in round 1, or only one running back went in round 1 because that's the norm. If we get there at 28, 29, 30 when the CBA's up, and we're not having conversations about the running backs getting paid a fair amount or whatever, it's likely because the norm now is to draft them, get rid of them, draft them, get rid of them, draft them, get rid of them. Good stuff today. 2 more, we up out of here. 501, what it do?
Yeah.
What's good with
your boy Law out of Little Rock. Check this out, man. I'm not going to be as eloquent as Jazz was.
Jazz eloquent, boy. You're tough one to
Hey,
follow up,
man, yeah, absolutely.
She's very well
And my
spoken.
guy before her was good, too, man. I love this point, but like you
calls.
said, it's going to take a lot to get that going. I'm going to be short and sweet, Sky. Look, the running back position is like this to me, man. You're getting paid based on the numbers. It's your numbers. If it's 32 teams in the league, and I only have, let's take the quarterback, for instance. I only have 20 guys that can do this on a somewhat elite level. Then, yeah, I got to pay those damn 20 guys, guy.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where I got 105 guys who could basically come in at the running back position. And I'm not saying, let's take Zeke in his prime, okay? Tony Pollard was not as good as prime Zeke. We'll all agree on that. But if I took Zeke at his prime and said, can I put Tony Pollard in at his prime? And can Tony Pollard give me 89 to 91% of what a prime Zeke was giving me? Would anybody argue me on that, Sky?
I think, barring injury, I think Tony Pollard will go off.
Exactly. So a prime Pollard versus a prime Zeke, even though we all agree that a prime Zeke was better in essence, we're talking about $90 million versus $15 million or $30 million. That's a $60 million gap. Was it a $60 million gap in talent? No, it wasn't, Sky. It's basic numbers, if you ask me, man. The reason why the running back can't get paid a premium price is because you're no longer a premium person. For instance, if I only made 100 different models, if I only made 100 models of this particular car, it's going to be worth way more than if I made 100,000 models of this particular car. You see what I'm saying? I got to pay. You're going to always pay for what you have less than. It's just a premium. It's a price on premium. That's why the quarterbacks are getting paid what they're getting paid, because we're only finding 20 people a year that can do this at an elite level. And then the other 12 quarterbacks are just just biding their time to get replaced in the draft or via free agent. Well, really not a lot of quarterbacks is via free agency, but getting replaced in the draft by the next hot thing. And with the running back position, though, I can replace you every year via the draft. I can get a guy that can give me 85 to 95% of what you're giving me without costing me $70, $80, $90 million over the course of 5 or 6 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what's been happening, and that's why I say I don't think this is a new thing. I think social media has made it a lot louder during this time of year, but this has been going on for quite some time, where the running back market has just continued to go down. I don't think, again, I'll repeat it. I don't think the position is invaluable. I think what's being devalued is the individual, because you still are going to carry I'm going to keep using this example. It's not fullback. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be the same thing as fullback. And you can just look around the league. Teams are carrying 0 fullbacks for the most part. You got maybe 5 or 6 that exist in this entire league. Whereas running backs, teams are going to carry 4 or 5 running backs because the position is valuable. The individual is no longer, because like you said, I can replace that individual and still get the same amount of production or better from a rookie coming in.
Or better, Sky. Absolutely.
From a rookie coming in, then it would be to pay you, where I can pay that money to a more valuable position that they believe affects the game greater. That's just, again, it's the way of the land right now.
It's business 101, Sky. Supply and demand. You can't demand a premium price, guy, when I got a constant supply of you.
Yeah, if you ain't Blue Magic,
you know what I mean?
If you ain't Blue Magic, you can't be.
I'm saying you had the prices, baby. this been stepped on, Sky. I can't. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know we taking them too fast, Sky. I'm gonna go. We took them too fast.
I feel you. That sound real bad, right? Like, oh, we call them running back stepped on product, but that's kind of the evolution of the game.
The reality of it,
stepped on product and no longer Blue Magic. Back in the 90s, they was the Blue Magic.
That's like when homie called, like, and he was saying, you know, back then we paid Zeke. Yeah, we did pay Zeke back. I mean, not Zeke, Emmett back then. Yeah, we paid Emmett back then because guess what? Emmett was needed back then. It's not needed like that anymore, Sky. Different game. We're playing a different game, man. You can't touch these damn receivers anymore. You can't touch that quarterback anymore like you once could. So we're playing a different game, and you can't play this game in 2023 by the same rules you were playing on in 83, 93. It's not the same thing. We're not out here running 4-3 sets anymore with box safeties and shit. You know what I mean? It's a different, get spread out, baby. And it's the era of the quarterback and the receiver. So it just is what it is.
Hey, man, great
but
point,
I'm not going to hold you up, Sky. I know you're running over today, man. I appreciate you taking my call.
It's all good.
And I'm going to be hitting you up a little bit later, man.
Yes, sir. Salute. It's all good.
Salute,
I wanted
bro.
to make sure I got to all the callers. Good call there, 501. I did lock the lines up. So you know, we got one more caller left. Apologies on the audio. Earlier, people were coming in mad low, so I tried to bump the audio up. I guess people are coming in regular now, so I'll keep monitoring that. That's the thing. I wear about 17 different hats. The engineer, the host, producer, all that stuff. So I'm trying to make sure this is cool for y'all. My apologies. All right, one more. 314. What's goody?
What's happening, Scott? It's CT, man.
CT Matt hit?
Yes, sir.
What's good, CT man? Hey, look, did you hear what Emmitt Smith had to say about this? He kept comparing it to Madden.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I'm not even tripping out the running backs for real. I'm over here panicking over Zach Martin. Like,
you feel me?
I'm just listening to y'all, and I'm pulling my hair out thinking what we gonna do about this man, because it seems like he's mad.
Yeah, the last time Zach was quote unquote mad like this, he sat out a day and they paid that man immediately. Right. And I think, see, if I'm gonna put on my player hat, right? Zach's smart as hell. Zach, like, wait a minute. We got offensive line issues. I'm the one stable dude, a future Hall of Famer. He might have been thinking about retiring, but if he can get a bag here after seeing what everybody else is doing, why not use the leverage I think he does have, in my opinion, to try to get that bag based off of what the Cowboys are doing on offensive line. The Cowboys ain't drafted his replacement. The Cowboys, you know what I'm saying? They didn't take nobody to be like, all right, Zach, we appreciate what you've done. Now we're going to take this first round pick and slide him up there at guard. At right guard at that. Right. So, I mean, I ain't mad at Zach for saying, yeah, you know, you want me around longer, then you got to come up. You got to come about your pockets.
It's the timing, right? We go to training camp, next week?
Yes, sir.
And so he got a 99 overall in Madden, so he called Jerry and was like, yeah, I need some more money.
Hey, dog, I got that legendary 99. I'm the first one since 03. Was it Willie Rowe for somebody? I don't know who it was. I'm from the first one since like 03 to get 99. I'm going to need to get paid like it.
Yeah, I see. That's all I had, though, man. Running backs, that's their life. They can't really get around it.
And beyond the CT, if you are a running back, like, and you knew guys like the Saquons of the world, right? And you knew what you were going to be a back, you were going to the league. I hate to say this because you're a kid, you don't know what's going on, but your peoples should have foresaw what was happening, right? For instance, right. Ezekiel Elliott, he's one of the smartest dudes from a running back standpoint. He knew what was about to happen. He knew it. And he said, "Oh no. I'm getting my bag
he's from
now."
The city. I remember watching him in high school. Like that's what he was. He was a running back. So it's like that's your calling. You really can't diverge from it. If you killing in high school your whole life, you playing running back. You know that's what you're gonna want to play if you make it that far into the league.
Yeah, but
I low key did have a solution, so to say. I would just say, make sure they contracts are guaranteed. All the running backs have guaranteed contracts.
That might be something. Again, Saquon spoke. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but he brought up guaranteed money, and that's the issue in general for the NFL. They don't have guaranteed contracts. NBA, I believe NHL does. If I'm wrong, let me know. I don't follow NHL. And MLB, they all have guaranteed contracts. But again, CT, if the running backs get guaranteed, if I'm anybody else, I'm coming for guaranteed. That's just how, we live in a capitalistic country, man. Like that's just, I'm not settling for less just because y'all feel bad for that position group.
Right.
Come get mine. You better get yours. Shout out to Brent
go to the USFL. They'll use them.
All right, CT, I'm gonna let you go, brother. Good stuff.
All right, be smooth, man.
Yes, sir. Salute. Man, look, I know we went a little bit long today, but I felt like this was a topic a lot of y'all would bring a lot of nuance to. Shout out to Vach in the chat. And details and everyone, every single last call has been such a good call, thought-provoking call that has garnered a lot of thought from me. And I appreciate that. I truly do. Oh, I got you, Toxic. I got you, Toxic. I just want to thank all the callers that was in here in the chat that have stuck around for the last, we've been on for 3 hours. I don't even know. For about 3 hours or so. I did not expect this conversation to actually take this type of turn, which is why it wasn't the feature of the show. But look, when the people are calling in the way they are, when you guys are interacting the way you are, and when you run your own damn show, we can call the audible. And that's what makes, again, the community, the individual or independent or whatever you want to call it that we are, that's what makes it special. We don't have to adhere to the big wig networks. We can kind of do this thing. So I appreciate that from y'all. So real quick, let me go ahead, find these super chats, read those from you guys, and interact a little bit in the chat here, and we can get up out of here. Earn, Bing, bow. All right, I ran a couple of them earlier, but I also missed a few. Where we at here? Below the Heavens dropped one earlier. He just brought up Zach Martin, basically gave the old
super chat
hands to the face emoji. Yeah, we talked about Zach, and we'll continue to talk about Zach. I actually might bring that up on Friday again. And then BLS podcast
super chat.
She dropped one earlier talking about the CBA. She brought that up, said current CBA runs till 2023. Situation might get ugly long before then. Players will need a strategy besides the NFLPA. And if you guys missed it, she called in with her opinions on the whole thing. Fantastic opinions. And it's so much deeper. As a lot of you have already talked about, it's so much deeper than just, a black and white type of solution. John Phelps.
Super chat.
Drop one and said, haters gonna hate Sky. America's team, stay hated on. You already know that, man.
Super chat.
Towboat Ty said, running backs ain't nothing without a good line in front of them. A good line is the difference between 3.2 or 4.6 yards per carry. A good line makes a good running back. Again, I'm all for paying the big dogs up front, and then we'll see what we got with the running back. Because if I got a line that can block like that, I'm pretty sure I can put me a solid running back in the backfield and be fine.
Super chat.
Glenn, appreciate you, Glenn. He dropped one that says CBA changed to exempt running backs. Oh, CBA should change. Okay, CBA should change to exempt running backs from the franchise tag. That's an idea that I hadn't thought about. But then if I'm in another position, I don't want to get a franchise tag either.
Super chat.
Toxic Tom drop one, says, Sky, when I die, I want the Cowboys front office to be my pallbearer so they can let me down one last time. Have held this team back since Clinton was in office. Damn, Toxic, that was deep. I mean, I've always heard it let me down one last time thing, but damn. Come on, dog. You got to believe this year, man. A couple more. King Element. He dropped one.
Super chat.
He said the NFL themselves should do their own math and compensate running backs based on production and things of that nature. Can't force teams to pay an easily replaceable position. The NFL themselves should do their own math and compensate backs based on production. So, King Element, if I don't want to get this wrong, you're saying instead of the team paying for incentives, because that's kind of what you're saying, production. Instead of the incentive-based part being the team, the league pays for it. Make sure I don't get that wrong. And we'll come back to you. Shaq, the Vikings fan.
Super chat.
Our brother from a different team. Says, salute to Navy vets. Brother L, military teachers deserve pro athlete salaries, protecting and guiding our future. Indeed. I did not know that you serve, Brother L, and all those that do serve, we thank you so much for it. All right, King dropped it. So King is saying, no. It'd be a set multiplier for each season based on past production before the contract. But who's paying for it? Is it the league or if you're saying like the league coming out of, say, stadium revenue, parking revenue, things like that? TV revenue, which already that goes into the salary cap, but nonetheless. Here we go. We got about 4 more. Oh, you dropped the multiplier thing. You said, I think the league should have a multiplier. This is a super chat. On second contracts based on production that the league itself covers. There we go. So you did say that. Appreciate you, King. Appreciate you. Brother L dropped 2.
Super chat.
He said, what makes a running back special? Can we list characteristics? Definition of special running back will change with each team. Paying the special ones is going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. What would be considered a special back? Is it speed? Is it a combination of speed and strength and power, vision, quickness, health? I think you could have argued in the 90s and 2000s that Emmitt Smith, the Marshall Faulks, the Curtis Martins of the world, like these guys were special because they kind of had the longevity. They were dual threat guys. They could do a bunch of different things, and they did it for a long time. But that's a good question. Like, what makes a running back special nowadays? Because nowadays it ain't what it was 20, 30 years ago, where you're asking these guys to be special 30 times a game for 16 games out of the season. Because I think you could have special traits. I think Tony Pollard, I think he has a special trait, but I don't know if we can put him in a special category just yet because he hasn't been a feature back to prove that he can be special for 3, 4, 5 years. He may go on to be a special back, but you can't put him in that category yet because he hasn't shown, in my opinion, to be a special back for a long period of time. I don't think you call somebody special from 1 year. I'll say that. I'll say you got to kind of show me that you can be this top tier type of player for more than 1 season. Peyton Hillis exists. Those type of guys, they exist. And then one more from Brother L.
Super chat.
He said, our future pros and cons segment per the callers, how this running back drama is ultimately a good thing. A league-wide cap on touches, carries, and running backs. Yeah, y'all brought up some really good things today that got me thinking. That's why, again, I kept rolling with this topic because it was a topic that made me think and made me feel something. And shout out to, I think it was Brett Coleman. Did I get that right? Happened to check out his video and he said something to me that I think is, or not to me, but to us, that is so true. Your brand shouldn't really be what you're making. Your brand should be how people feel when they have seen what you've made. And y'all help with that a whole lot. And if I can drive a conversation that makes you guys feel something to the point where you want to get your take off, and call in or in the chat. And it's not all trolling. Trolling's fun, but that means a whole lot more to me than anything. So that's kind of what I want my brand to be, right? I wanted to make you feel something each and every show that we do, which is not the low-hanging fruit, which is not always regurgitating the same topics, although that's hard to do. It's hard to not regurgitate the same topics in this point in time. And I get it, we're in the dead period, but still going to be a purpose, to the show. Still going to be a purpose. It might not be perfect, but there will be a purpose. Shout out to Kirk Franklin. Woo! I need to take a breather. Hey, y'all were great today. Do me a favor on the way out. Hit the like button if you enjoyed today's show. We'll be back Friday, and we will unleash the actual quarterback rankings that we talked about earlier at the top of the show, where we'll just be talking about the toughest QBs the Cowboys will be facing. We'll rank them top 10. I think you guys will. It's a Friday show for real anyway. So perfect time. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and press this button. T-minus 5 days till we return. Watch Lombardi live. Can't wait. Hey, I'm glad you peeped that, Brother L. You know how I do, man. I can't sit still. I got some more special things in the works for you, man. All right, love y'all to death. We out here. Peace.
Squad!